Chapter 483. Kid, how many legs do you have to be able to run so quickly? Zhu Daoshan scolded. He was unhappy that Lin Fan ran so quickly. To think that the strongest 9-star generals of the Alliance weren't able to surpass him in terms of speed, that was just so embarrassing. Lin Fan turned his head, 3 legs, thick and long. Zhu Daoshan was stunned. He came back to his senses and raged. Kid, if I catch you, I will let you personally witness my 3 legs being cut off. Lin Fan was still able to reply while running. One could see how much he disrespected the 9-star generals. But Zhu Daoshan's words made Lin Fan's pants tighten. Damn, this old fellow was so cruel. He was just casually saying it and he actually wanted to cut it off. It seemed like no matter what, he couldn't let him catch him. At that moment, Lin Fan felt the space behind him explode. He turned around and was so terrified that his body shook. The two of them attacked at the same time and the space was squeezed. It was as if a high-level civilization had smashed a 3-dimensional space into a 2-dimensional one. Lin Fan hollered and struck with all his strength. He had to block it, otherwise just the ripples alone could kill him. When facing other people, he could casually tease them, but he was facing the strongest 9-star generals of the Alliance. Moreover, there were 2 of them, so it was best if he didn't ask to die. He had to treat it seriously and think of a way to flee. Hong Long. Both sides clashed, causing the dimension to become really unstable, and then it collapsed. Lin Fan frowned. The ripples ravaged his body and it was really painful. Recover. Fortunately, he had obtained a useful secret technique, otherwise, who knew what the outcome would have been. This kid has recovered again. He has some kind of secret technique that can heal his injuries. Wu Zhiga saw it clearly. He had heavily injured the kid but in the blink of an eye, he recovered. Zhu Daoshan was interested in Lin Fan's secret technique, and thought that it was the ability to save Sword Head. If we can capture him alive, then so be it. If we can get that secret technique from him, it might be helpful to us. At the same time, he was terrified of Lin Fan's strength. He was only Dao Realm Stage 3. If one day this brat's strength reached level 4 or level 5, with this kind of leapfrogging combat ability, the 2 of them might be easily killed. Just thinking about it was terrifying. Are the brains of those analysts in the Alliance full of shit? Why did they notice him so late? Also, the 4 alliances informed them long ago but they didn't wipe him out, allowing him to grow to such a stage. No matter what, we have to kill him here today. Wu Zhiga's eyes turned ferocious and terrifying, his killing intent boiling. Perhaps in his opinion, as long as he could kill his opponent, it was necessary to pay a price. Rumble! Rumble! The world rumbled incessantly. The commotion caused by the 2 strongest 9-star generals chasing Lin Fan was too huge. But as it was in the Alliance's territory, it didn't attract people from the 4 alliances. Only the Alliance headquarters kept beeping. As the level of power that exploded out was too high, the nebula that formed covered the entire Alliance's territory. They didn't know who the Alliance 9-star general faced for such an intense battle to occur. Could it be Lin Wani? This was what they all thought. Maybe to them, only Lin Wani would make the Alliance 9-star generals so serious. F***ck, these 2 old farts are so ruthless. Lin Fan was a little haggard, but he could tell the other party loudly that even if he was proud, he would never lose out. He didn't lose out at all. Not only did he kill some generals, but he also allowed Zhao Lishan and the others to escape. The price he paid was that he was being chased. It wasn't much. He could still take it. But if he didn't have the blood demon reversal technique, the outcome would be totally different. How should I escape? Lin Fan just wanted to escape. As for fighting the 2 of them, there was no need for that. He obviously couldn't beat them, so why did he have to find trouble for himself? He didn't need to prove anything and he didn't need to get himself covered in blood. Once he raised his cultivation to Dao Realm Stage 4, then he would have a good fight with them. Suddenly, Lin Fan realized that the situation was a little off. A pair of giant hands reached out from the ground and grabbed towards the two 9-star generals. It was like they were blocking the path of the Alliance 9-star generals. Lin Fan turned his head and saw a person standing there. He couldn't see his face, but his body was a little scary. He was just too fat. He wanted to thank Brother Fatty and then he would take his leave. But forget about it. Brother, thank you. If I have the chance, I will head over to thank you. Lin Fan didn't stop. He didn't know him, so there was no need to say anything about brotherhood. He used this chance to rip open the dimension and step in. Hong Long. Ah. Monster Emperor, you are asking to die. Wu Zhiga hollered. They followed Lin Fan and knew that no matter how the kid ran, he wouldn't be able to escape from them. But Monster Emperor's sudden attack caught them off guard. They hesitated for a moment and the kid took the chance to flee. Zhu Daoshan looked at the dimension and couldn't find any traces of him. His expression turned dark and sunken. Shua. He looked at Monster Emperor and the vengeful energy was like an ocean. It surged and struck Monster Emperor's body. Monster Emperor, the Alliance has never offended you. What is the meaning of this? Zhu Daoshan didn't expect Monster Emperor to appear here. At the same time, he even let him go. This was going against the Alliance headquarters. Monster Emperor's body was like a small mountain. He turned his head and looked at the dimension that Lin Fan disappeared into. A smile appeared on his face. There is no need to thank me. He then looked at Zhu Daoshan and Wu Zhiga. Ha ha, I never have a reason to do anything. If you are unhappy, then kill me. I am not afraid of anything. Ha ha, Zhu Daoshan was extremely furious. You lunatic. To them, Monster Emperor was a lunatic, a complete lunatic. He didn't know what Monster Emperor was thinking to actually go against the Alliance headquarters. At the same time, they knew that this wasn't the first time. You dog, I will kill you. Wu Zhiga hollered in rage. He transferred all his rage towards Lin Fan onto Monster Emperor. If not for him, Lin Fan wouldn't have run. If not for him, they wouldn't have failed. No one knew where Monster Emperor was, and it was as if he had disappeared from the world. But now that he appeared here and spoiled their plan, who could accept that? Hong Long. An even more intense battle erupted. Everything within a few miles was destroyed, and it continued to spread outward. Monster Emperor fought against two of the strongest 9-star generals. The first strike. Monster Emperor was badly injured and a bloody hole appeared in his body. Fresh blood flowed and one could even see his organs. But Monster Emperor didn't care at all. Ha ha. Come, I don't fear anything. Zhu Daoshan frowned. You stupid monster. In their eyes, Monster Emperor was a monster and he wasn't human at all. Just as Zhu Daoshan said this, Lin Fan's eyes lit up. Monster Emperor lowered his head and his breathing became rushed. A fierce glow flashed in his eyes and his face was vicious like there was something hidden under his skin. I want all of you to die. Hong Long. A battle exploded. Wu Zhiga and Zhu Daoshan were really strong. Even if Monster Emperor was strong, he wasn't their match at all. But just as they said, Monster Emperor shouldn't be a human, right? Who knew how long passed? Beside a small stream, a giant body walked there. Drip, drip. Monster Emperor's body was riddled with holes and large amounts of blood dripped down, dyeing the ground red. At the same time, it dyed the stream red. Shortly after, many dead fish floated on the surface. Monster Emperor wanted to laugh, but each time he did, he would spit out large amounts of blood. He walked beside the stream, and his entire body was reflected in the water. I am not a monster, I will kill all of you. Monster Emperor hated people calling him a monster. Suddenly, Monster Emperor's eyes turned gray and his will dissipated. With a loud thud, he fell into the stream. Who was the one who attacked? Lin Fan came to a safe place and was really confused. He had never seen that body before and anyway, it definitely wasn't a friend. Perhaps it was a reclusive expert. It just so happened that they passed by his territory and angered him. Since the two of them were the strongest, the expert took the initiative to challenge them. That was possible and there shouldn't be any problems. It is time to find Zhao Lishan and the others. Before Zhao Lishan left, he told Lin Fan where to find them. With the current situation, although it was good to fight one-on-one, if they recruited more experts to fill up Marshall Path Mountain, it would be a huge help in expanding the map. Wu Zhiga and Zhu Daoshan stood on the cliff. The two of them stood with their arms behind their backs and looked into the distance. They kept silent like they were one with heaven and earth. After a long while, Wu Zhiga opened his mouth. "Do you think that kid is our nemesis?" Zhu Daoshan looked at Wu Zhiga and wanted to say something, but his throat seemed to be stuck. He wanted to say something but he stopped. He could only sigh and express the pain in his heart. Lin Fan ran. Monster Emperor was beaten half to death by them and fled. In the end, they didn't get anything and even lost the 9-star generals who followed them. To put it nicely, they lost them. To put it simply, they died. They were killed by a sneak attack right in front of their faces. They would go back and tell the Alliance headquarters that they couldn't blame them and that they had to blame Lin Fan for appearing and sneak attacking them. But even if they believed them, would the Alliance headquarters believe them? Wu Zhiga continued. When did we become 9-star generals? Thinking about it, it has been decades. At that time, everything was smooth sailing for us and we didn't face any problems. But now, hey! A gust of wind blew over. The two old brothers suddenly felt melancholy. Their hearts were empty and they didn't even dare to head back. It was like they had failed an exam and had to ask their parents to sign it. They felt really terrified. Zhu Daoshan kept silent for a long while and said, "Why not? We don't go back?" Wu Zhiga was stunned and looked at Zhu Daoshan like he didn't expect him to say such a thing. "Actually, it is good that we don't go back, but can you help me with something?" Zhu Daoshan, "What?" Wu Zhiga, "Anyway, you aren't going back. So why don't I say that you betrayed the Alliance and messed with the natives? I was tricked and only I survived. What do you think?" Zhu Daoshan. Chapter 484. Damn. Zhu Daoshan had a good upbringing. After all, he had a granddaughter and was usually a really nice grandfather in front of her. But now, he really couldn't take it anymore. Words couldn't describe what he was feeling and he could only use one word to describe it. Wu Zhiga had a good plan. To not be the scapegoat, he tossed all the blame to him. What a good teammate. Of course, the two of them were just randomly saying those words and they weren't really going to leave the Alliance. But to Wu Zhiga, when he suggested that, he really hoped that Zhu Daoshan would pat his chest and say that. "Okay, don't worry, leave this to me." Although it was a little fake. But one had to be filled with hope. What if it came true? In the end, the two old men walked into the distance. They looked at their backs and felt that the surrounding atmosphere was really lonely. Maybe to them, this was because they couldn't keep their chastity. The two of them were just unlucky. For example, this time, if Monster Emperor hadn't appeared, it would have been tough for Lin Fan to escape from their hands. What a waste. Luck was also a part of strength. It was just so interesting. They couldn't understand. Was there something wrong with Monster Emperor's head? Why did he keep helping Lin Fan? Was Monster Emperor close to Lin Wani or Lin Fan? That was impossible. Monster Emperor did things that even Lin Wani couldn't help but want to kill him, so how could they have a good relationship? Maybe there was something wrong with his head. Master Zhao, what happened to young Master Lin? Can he escape from their hands? Old Shin asked. He didn't expect that young Master Lin would be the one to save them. Zhao Lishan's expression was solemn and he hesitated. He should be fine. Thinking about how Lin Fan was facing two of the strongest 9-star generals of the Alliance, he wasn't confident that Lin Fan could return alive. Suddenly, there was movement outside. Zhao Lishan told everyone to be quiet. There is someone outside. But very soon, he heard someone shouting outside. "Where is he? I am Lin Fan, where are all of you?" Zhao Lishan heaved a sigh of relief when he heard that. But he felt that young Master Lin's communication method was a little arrogant. Wasn't he afraid of drawing people over? "It is Brother Lin is fine." Huluo was really excited and ran outside. Seeing how hurried Huluo and the others were, Zhao Lishan smiled and shook his head, following closely behind. After confirming that young Master Lin was fine, he was relieved. Outside, Lin Fan was really calm as he was surrounded by people. Huluo surrounded him and said many things. Of course, there were many border defense experts who praised Lin Fan. To be able to lure away the strongest 9-star generals of the Alliance alone was something that made them respect him so much that they were moved to tears. Zhao Lishan looked on from the side, and when it was about time, he walked forwards. "Young Master Lin, how did you escape from the Alliance 9-star generals?" Lin Fan smiled. "It's a long story. It's not something that can be explained in a short time. But I have to say, this place is really hard to find. I shouted for you guys for half a day before you guys responded." Zhao Lishan smiled. He didn't expect young Master Lin to be so bold. At that time was too tight and he couldn't say it clearly. He could only give a rough location, which was why young Master Lin had searched for so long and they couldn't do anything about it. Last time, when Lin Fan passed by Giant Sword Sect, Zhang Rongming followed him to join Laoshan City. Now that he saw him again, his aura had changed. What was more shocking was that his cultivation had increased too. In the past, he was at initial Grandmaster and now, he was about to step into God Essence realm. This improvement speed was just too quick. That was enough to show how talented Zhang Rongming was. Moreover, he had an expert teaching him, so it was tough for him not to improve. This was the first time Sword Head saw Lin Fan, and he was grateful. But he was also curious as to why Lin Fan knew the Sword Palace technique. He thought about it for a long time and still couldn't understand. Lin Fan told Sword Head the story between him and Elder Han Qing. He knew the Sword Palace technique because before he died, he saw that Lin Fan was talented and knew that he wasn't a normal person. "For the peace of the world, he taught it to me." He said it in such a righteous manner. Sword Head thought about something and his expression was one of disappointment. He sighed and didn't pursue the matter. He was just shocked by Lin Fan's cultivation speed and called him a genius born for the sword. Lin Fan's expression didn't change and he just accepted it. He didn't really want to tell the other party that he didn't care much about the sword Dao. He just happened to cultivate it, and it wasn't much. Of course, if he really said that, Sword Head probably wouldn't be able to take it. Lin Fan had promised Han Qing one thing. Han Qing had given him his sword, regret, in hopes that he would be able to find a woman with 6 fingers. This matter was really difficult, but he didn't care. He could only take it one step at a time. Who knew when he would bump into her? Zhao Lishan said, "Young Master Lin, what do you plan to do next?" His initial thought was to lead his brothers to fight the Alliance to the end. Even if they couldn't cause much trouble for the Alliance, they definitely couldn't let them have it so easy. In truth, they did do many things that made the Alliance headquarters hate them to the bone. This was why the Alliance attacked them so crazily. If it wasn't for young Master Lin leading the enemy away, the outcome would have been catastrophic. Lin Fan thought about it for a moment. "Why don't you follow me back to Martial Path Mountain? All of you know about the current situation. Imperial Dynasty, Alliance, and the 4 alliances have occupied their own territory. Now that the 4 alliances are at war, it is a good thing for the Alliance headquarters. They have started to take action and occupy more territory. We won't be able to achieve much by fighting against the Alliance aimlessly. My idea is simple. We will use Martial Path Mountain as our foundation to expand and become the 6th faction." Lin Fan's words were really firm. He had absolute confidence in becoming the 6th faction. As he had the Chief God domain, He believed that it wouldn't be a problem. Zhao Lishan looked at Lin Fan in shock. He didn't expect young Master Lin to be so ambitious. He lowered his head and thought about it. He felt that it made sense, but to him, it was really difficult. After all, it was like snatching food from a tiger's mouth. Young Master Lin, are you confident? Zhao Lishan asked. Lin Fan smiled confidently. If it was just me alone, I would be 70% confident. But if all of you join in, then I am 100% confident. Zhao Lishan was shocked by Lin Fan's confidence, and then he laughed out loud. Great, since that is the case, then I will follow young Master Lin and help you form the 6th faction to fight against them. Lin Fan smiled. We can't fight against them. My goal is to crush them. Everyone was shocked. They instantly felt their blood boil, and it was like something was burning in their bodies. Lin Fan asked, Old Zhao, do you know where my father is? I have been searching for him, but I have no news at all. Zhao Lishan shook his head. Young Master Lin, I don't know where Master Lin is, but based on my guesses, he is definitely with the Imperial Dynasty princes. Lin Fan thought about it and felt that it was possible. He then said, Have you seen my cousin? He missed his cousin. Although he knew that his cousin was fine, his cousin was a little dumb. He was afraid that his cousin would be bullied outside. Zhao Lishan was stunned. Young Master Lin, who is your cousin? Forget it. He didn't want to continue pursuing this matter. If he wanted to find his beloved cousin, he had to rely on himself. Old Zhao probably hasn't seen him. Let's just leave this place. Lin Fan waved his hands. He had been out for a period of time and was eager to head back to take a look at Marshall Path Mountain. They didn't stay here and followed behind Lin Fan towards Marshall Path Mountain. Alliance Headquarters Meeting Room. Wu Zhiga, Zhu Daoshan, do you have anything to say? In the meeting room, the commander's voice was dark and sunken. He was already in a furious state. The two of them looked at one another. No. They really had nothing to say. The key was that they couldn't find a suitable reason. They looked at the gazes of those old fellows. They were all gloating and were filled with jealousy. As the strongest 9-star general, his status was much higher than theirs. But the commander was furious. He got up from his throne and kicked the table in front of him. The documents on it scattered all over the ground, and the situation was a little chaotic. He pointed at the two of them and raged. The two of you are one of the strongest 9-star generals in the Alliance headquarters, and you led so many generals. But now, not only did you not wipe out the natives, but only the two of you returned alive. What use do you have? Are you still the strongest 9-star general of the Alliance headquarters? The commander's rage terrified everyone. Even the guards outside shivered. Who knew how long it had been since they saw the commander angry? Wu Zhiga and Zhu Daoshan felt really annoyed. When did they become so unlucky? Perhaps he had to start from the battle with Lin Wani. Since then, their luck became really bad and everything they did wasn't smooth. Wu Zhiga wanted to keep silent, but he couldn't sit still and wait for death. He had to find a reason for himself. Commander, you can't blame us for this. The natives were about to be wiped out by us, but Lin Fan suddenly appeared. His strength reached an uncontrollable level. Although he isn't our match, Monster Emperor's appearance caused the situation to change. Really, before he finished, he was interrupted by the commander. This isn't an excuse for your failure. Wu Zhiga was helpless. His expectations were a little high. What did he mean by it wasn't an excuse for failure? He really had no choice. At that moment, he realized that Zhu Daoshan's expression was really calm and he didn't say a single word from start to finish. He thought about how he said so much and was still scolded by the commander. What right did he have? Why didn't he say anything at all? Suddenly, Zhu Daoshan opened his mouth. Hayes, I am old and I am not as agile anymore. I should just go home and take care of my granddaughter so that I won't embarrass myself. As for the Alliance's strongest 9-star general, please take it back. The 9-star generals in the meeting room were delighted. Those who had the title didn't change their expressions, and those who didn't were interested. If someone took a step back, then someone else would definitely step up. Maybe they would have a chance. The commander's expression changed, and then he said gently, "Old Zhu, what nonsense are you saying? Forget it, we can't blame you for this. I will let it go this time. Don't feel too burdened. You have contributed so much to the Alliance headquarters, and no one can replace that." Damn. Wu Zhiga was stunned as he looked at Zhu Daoshan. Was he so cunning? He was saying that he wasn't going to do anything, and he even asked the commander to calm him down. Chapter 485. Outside the Alliance headquarters meeting room, Wu Zhiga's gaze towards Zhu Daoshan changed. Not bad, retreating in order to advance, letting the commander console you. You are really skilled. Why didn't I think of that? What do you mean by that? Zhu Daoshan was stunned, and then he reacted to what he was saying. I am speaking the truth. I am indeed a little tired, and I really want to let go of my burden and reunite with my family. Thinking about it, I have served the Alliance for close to 100 years. If not for the commander asking me to stay, I really would have wanted to leave. Wu Zhiga looked at Zhu Daoshan's expression and his lips curled. His words sounded like they were the truth. Continue acting. What a cunning fellow. What happened next was really simple and as expected. Wu Zhiga and Zhu Daoshan, the two strongest 9-star generals, lost, and the Alliance suffered heavy losses was exposed. The two of them were at the center of the storm and were scolded badly by the Alliance citizens. Even if an old citizen mentioned what the two strongest 9-star generals had done for the Alliance, they were ignored and drowned in the ocean. Their intentions were obvious. No matter how much they had done in the past, now that there was a problem, naturally, they would scold them. Wu Zhiga's mental state exploded and he nearly killed all of them. Zhu Daoshan was really calm. The key was that he didn't know. His family blocked all information and didn't let the old man come into contact with such things. Anyway, the old man was playing with his granddaughter and didn't pay attention to the Alliance platform. A desolate desert. A beautiful carriage slowly traveled on the desert. The ones pulling the carriage weren't horses but people. They were naked and each of them grabbed a rope and dragged it forwards. There were marks on their back. It looked like they were imprinted by burning iron. Simply put, these people were slaves. At that moment, an old man walked to the carriage. "Little miss, the person we picked up on the road isn't simple. Is it a problem to bring him back without investigating him?" At that moment, the curtains were opened and a girl's face was revealed. It was indeed very beautiful, but it gave off a feeling of coldness and cruelty. Not simple? The woman smiled coldly and said, "Regardless of whether you are simple or not, once you are in this lady's hands, you will have to obediently become a slave. I have never seen a slave with such a special body before." Behind the carriage was a cage, and inside it was an extremely fat man. If not for the fact that he was still breathing, they would have thought that he was dead. The woman's luck was simply too good. She didn't expect to pick up such a strange species on the road. However, if others were to see this, they would probably be so scared that they would piss their pants. You even dared to pick up Monster Emperor's corpse. Did you not know how death was written? Hell Mountain. Who is it? The guards guarding Hell Mountain saw a black-robed man walk over, and stopped him right away. Hell Mountain had an agreement with the Alliance headquarters to allow them to develop in Richland. To them, this was the peak of their lives and they were about to reach a point that they couldn't reach in their past glory. The black-robed man stood there, and took off the black hood on his head. An uproar. The guard instantly knelt down. "Greetings, evil god Zhen Ming." Zhen Ming's expression didn't change as he walked in. When Hell Mountain learned that Zhen Ming had returned, everyone was shocked. After all, to them, Zhen Ming should have fallen in Laozhan City. Who knew that he would return? This was a piece of news that made everyone excited. The return of an expert obviously made Hell Mountain stronger. But to those who were familiar with Zhenming, they felt like Zhenming had changed somewhere. But it was hard to say. To them, it was good that he was back. Marshall Path Mountain. Young Master Lin, this place is not bad. It isn't in the territory of the Four Alliances, so you can develop well. Zhao Lishan said. The Four Alliances were really terrifying, and it was really tough to develop in their territory. Unless one relied on absolute strength, there was no hope. Zhao Lishan didn't think that he had such an ability. Lin Fan smiled. 1,000 miles around is Marshall Path Mountain's territory. Those weak powers have all been wiped out. What we lack now is experts. However, since old Zhao and you are here, then this problem will be solved. Zhao Lishan didn't expect young Master Lin to be so skilled to actually expand his territory to 1,000 miles. It was really shocking. Young Master Lin, if Master Lin knew that you had such achievements, he would be really happy. Zhao Lishan said. He was really impressed. To have such cultivation at such a young age, how many people in the world could have such achievements? Everyone came to the mountain gate. Please. As the host, naturally, Lin Fan had to bring them around. Marshall Path Mountain's buildings had been renovated and overall, it was still okay. Brother Lin, this place is really a treasure land. You actually have a livestock. Huluo looked at the fat pig that walked over and couldn't help but laugh. Once it grows up, we will get some piglets. Then, we won't lack pork at all. Lin Fan was stunned. He wanted to tell Huluo to stop, but it was too late. Zhu Shen hurried over when he saw young Master Lin return. He didn't hear anything else, but he heard everything Huluo said. Then, he raged. Kid, who are you talking about? Zhu Shen scolded. Arrogant, really arrogant. He obviously didn't hold him in any regard. Even if he turned into a pig, he wouldn't be a normal pig. But this kid actually treated him like a livestock. If he didn't teach him a lesson, he would really be too arrogant. But when he saw the person who came, he was shocked. Then, he was delighted. Zhao Lishan, sword head, how did you all come? Zhao Lishan was stunned. It was like a movie was playing in his mind. He thought about it and didn't expect that he knew a pig. You are. Zhu Shen said, I am Zhu Shen. Due to some special reasons, I became like this. Zhu Shen? At that moment, not only was Zhao Lishan stunned, but the others were too. How did the top blade of the Imperial Dynasty become like this? Zhao Lishan saw Lin Fan nod his head and totally believed that this was Zhu Shen. Lin Fan said, This is a long story and it is hard to tell it in a short time. Why don't we head to the main hall and talk about it? Within the main hall, Lin Fan told everyone about what happened in Yu City. Zhu Shen sacrificed himself and died with the alliance. But due to some luck, he turned into a pig. Although it made one feel helpless, it was a good thing that he was able to keep his life. Everyone was filled with respect for Zhu Shen's fearless attitude. Even if he turned into a pig, he was still willing to give his last bit of strength to fight against the alliance. If Zhu Shen knew what they were thinking, he might have said, Thank you all. Guys, with our current strength, although we might not be able to catch up to the top sects, we aren't too far away. The Imperial Dynasty is colluding with the Alliance headquarters, and the four alliances are fighting amongst themselves to occupy territory. If we want to chase the Alliance out, we can only rely on ourselves. If we can gather the other city defense experts, then our strength will increase. Even if we face the strongest 9-star generals, we won't be afraid. Lin Fan was really confident. Before Zhao Lishan and the others came, he was already really confident. Much less now. His biggest trump cards were the two places that believed in him. City of Darkness and Mountain City. These were the places where he spread his faith. During this period of time, the faith from these two places was at an explosive rate. It was obvious that more and more people believed in him. There weren't many who could reach the purple level of faith. There were only 3 of them in these two places. With such a huge base, it was really too little. Zhao Lishan said, Their whereabouts are unknown and I don't know where they are. If we can find them, they will be of great help. Sword Head said, I lost contact with Sanfeng Daoist, but they might still be in the Alliance's territory. If Sanfeng Daoist appears, we will have top combat power. In the past, the various defense cities were unequal. Yu City was facing experts. Old priest Sanfeng was weaker than Linwani, but he could still fight against the strongest 9-star generals of the Alliance. Oh, by the way, I heard that an extraordinary expert appeared in Tianshui City, at the border. No one knows his name. Everyone calls him Old Monk. He is very powerful. When Tianshui City retreated, they were surrounded by the strongest 9-star generals. This old monk forced them back alone. Lin Fan was a little curious. So amazing? Sword Head nodded. Very amazing. Although I don't know his name, he has a guy beside him. I think he is called Qin Zhong. Qin Zhong. Lin Fan frowned. He felt like he had heard this name before, but he couldn't recall it. Forget it, since he couldn't recall it, then he wouldn't think about it. Anyway, it had nothing to do with him. But if he could pull the old monk in, then his strength would increase once more. Zhao Lishan said, Young Master Lin, I think they are definitely looking for us. There is no rush. The key is whether we should slowly develop or expand our territory. Expand. Lin Fan said, the top sects won't have any conflicts with us, so we don't have to worry about facing people we can't fight. He was in a rush to raise his strength. At Dao Realm Stage 4, he could fight against the strongest 9-star generals and also those peak experts from the top sections. If not, he felt like his life wasn't that free. Just as Lin Fan and the others were discussing the development of Martial Path Mountain, something happened at the 4 alliances. The main reason was that the battles became more intense. The top sects joined the battle. It wasn't so intense at first, but there was a misunderstanding. Thus, the 4 alliances really started fighting. This saved the Alliance headquarters the trouble of thinking of ways to sow discord. For some reason, they reached their goal and that felt great. Chapter 486. Where the former Imperial Dynasty prince was. Lin Wani, what did you say? Old ancestor Su Chongsun asked. He looked behind and didn't see anyone. He had a weird expression on his face. Why did Lin Wani come back alone? Logically speaking, he should have brought someone back. Lin Wani shook his head. He didn't succeed. It is a little weird. I feel like something happened to him. Su Chongsun frowned. With your relationship with him, he shouldn't have not given you face. He should have told you something, otherwise, he wouldn't have sent you back so easily. Lin Wani went to invite a divinator. He studied destiny his whole life and his divinations were really accurate. He wanted to invite him to help the prince recover the imperial dynasty. He said that there was no hope and that he wouldn't leave the mountain for the rest of his life. He just wants to live a peaceful life and has no interest in fighting and killing. Lin Wani said. Old ancestor Su thought about it and nodded his head. His words make sense. Even I feel like there is no hope now. He thought about Prince Zhao's situation and how he had no motivation at all. Instead, he felt like this place was really comfortable. But as the country protector, he had the heavy responsibility of recovering the imperial dynasty. Even if he felt like there was no hope, he couldn't give up. He even felt that with these old fellows here, they would definitely succeed. What are the two of you whispering about? Can you share it with me? Water Emperor smiled and walked over. The divinator didn't come? That fellow is really careful. People who know destiny are really afraid of death and will run faster than anyone else when there is danger. If he didn't come, doesn't that mean that he has no confidence? Truthfully, with our current strength, it is really tough. It is really tough to suppress those top sects and the alliance. But riches are found in danger. There is a path that we can try. Water Emperor was really mysterious, like he knew a huge secret. His gaze towards the two of them was like he was sending a signal. Do you dare to try? Lin Wani and Su Changsun looked at one another and didn't know what Water Emperor was talking about. Water Emperor didn't hide anything. Do you know how the Yin demons came about? Su Changsun frowned like he understood something, but he wasn't sure. Water Emperor, just say what you want to say. Can you stop stuttering? You are more knowledgeable than us, we admit that, but if you want to show off like this, then it is pointless. Although Lin Wani was strong and knowledgeable, there were some secrets that he didn't know. Water Emperor smiled and didn't hide anything. Okay, then let me tell all of you. I learned about this from a secret place. You should know that Yin demons are usually really weak. The strongest is around God Essence realm. It is tough to meet any higher, unless there are special situations. But based on what I know, Yin demons aren't so simple. They live below us and due to some reason, they were sealed a long time ago. Only some Yin demons that aren't considered Yin demons are helping us fight against the Alliance. So, what I mean is to find the place where the seal is and remove it, to release the Yin demons to throw the powers of the world into chaos. Only then will we have a chance. Lin Wani didn't even think and waved his hands. That won't work. Yin demons eat human flesh and blood. Do you really want to wipe out the world? Those people from the Alliance are humans but Yin demons aren't. Su Changsun nodded his head. I also feel that we shouldn't take the risk. Yin demons were sealed by the people in the past, which means that they are really dangerous, otherwise they wouldn't have been sealed. Water Emperor, do you have something to do with Yin demons and want to trick us to remove the seal? When Water Emperor heard this, he was unhappy. What do you mean by that? I am just giving you a suggestion. The stone plaque is at the bottom of the ocean eye. If you don't believe me, then go take a look. Water Emperor was furious. He was planning for them and actually said that he had something to do with Yin demons. That was just so annoying. Oh right, there is something important that I didn't tell you. I obtained a huge secret from the stone plaque. Do you want to know? Su Changsun took in a deep breath. Once again, his emotions were going to explode from Water Emperor's actions. Damn. This old fellow was so infuriating. Just say what he had to say. What secret? Lin Wani asked. Water Emperor said, as for the method to break through to Tao Realm Stage 7 and above, it seems to have something to do with Yin demons. But the stone plaque didn't record it, so I don't know either. Shock. Lin Wani and Su Changsun were obviously shocked by Water Emperor's secret. Who knew how many people wanted to break through to Tao Realm Stage 7 and above? But they had no choice. When they reached that limit, they would feel like there was no path ahead. No matter how hard they tried, it was useless. At the start, they thought that Stage 7 was the peak, and they didn't care much about it. But now that Water Emperor said those words, they were shocked. Not long later, Lin Wani reacted. Okay, let's not think so much. Let's solve the matter in front of us first. Su Changsun understood what Lin Wani meant. It was best not to try unknown dangers. So what if they knew how to step into Tao Realm Stage 8? With the current situation, the conditions didn't allow it at all. A few days later, during this period of time, Martial Path Mountain expanded their territory. Lin Fan went out and was a little tired. He continued to be taken care of by Go, Z, and ate delicious food every day. His life was really comfortable. And not bad. At this moment, Lin Fan laid there comfortably. Mu Gang's snow-white fingers landed on his back. Mu Gang, it has been a while and your skills have improved. Not bad, not bad. Continue to work hard. Was Lin Fan's life still a human? It was something that only evil landlords could enjoy. It is good that young master likes it. Mu Gang replied shyly. Gozi frowned. It wasn't good for Mu Gang to speak to young master like that. If this was in Yu City, she would definitely be punished. Was she trying to seduce young master? A small servant actually wanted to make a comeback. She was really scheming. During this period of time, 9 demons slowly changed. In the past, it had already grown a pair of wings. Just recently, Nine Demon's body had actually grown golden scales. It was quite strange. He knew that Nine Demon was a good thing in Insect Valley, but he didn't know what it was exactly. Fong Poliu was once the Insect Valley Grand Disciple and knew about Nine Demon's background. But Nine Demon's changes stunned him. The changes were huge, and it was different from its mother. He wanted to study Nine Demon, but he knew that he wasn't strong enough. The main reason was because he left Insect Valley too early and didn't learn much. He had the heart but no ability. "Young master, what do you want to eat tonight?" Gozi asked. Lin Fan wanted to say something, but suddenly, there was movement in the god domain. He got up and raised his hand to tell Gozi and the others not to speak. Just now, he sensed that there was a source of faith that he could ask for. It wasn't for himself but for the protection of a god when he faced trouble. City of Darkness. This was the village. At this moment, the village was in a bad situation. It faced its biggest crisis in history. After Xue Jinru and the others came here, they stayed here. Originally, she wanted to become the village chief's disciple, but the village chief explained that the villagers were only so powerful because they received the protection of the gods. Therefore, she began to worship the statues of the gods like the villagers, hoping to receive this power. "I didn't expect that you natives would actually hide here. Xue family people are here too. You really aren't afraid to die." The village was surrounded by a bunch of Alliance members. The one who spoke was an old man, an Alliance 9-star general at Dao Realm Stage 3. They occupied a city for the Alliance, and Xue family was the family in that city. Who knew that they would actually dare to fight against the Alliance? Naturally, they had to wipe them out. Who knew that half of them would be killed, and only a few of them would escape? "General, that is the general. We are finished." Shuizhong's face was ashen white. Facing the Alliance 9-star general, he didn't have any will to fight back at all. The gap in strength was just too huge. The expert they recognized, the village chief, was suppressed by the Alliance 9-star general. He was heavily injured and was praying in front of the statue. The villagers were furious. "Come and pray. The chief god will protect us," the village chief said weakly. He was no match for him, but he believed that the chief god would save them. When the Alliance 9-star general and the others saw this, they laughed out loud. "Ignorant natives, you actually want to seek the chief god's protection. What you are praying to is just a statue. What use is it?" The villagers listened to the village chief and didn't bother about what the Alliance said at all. They believed that the chief god would protect them. "Father, what should we do?" Xue Jinru asked anxiously. They prayed to the statue for a long time, but there was no change. They felt that it was a lie. If the village chief wasn't so strong, they would have left long ago. Shuizhong had a bitter expression on his face. "What can we do? Even if we want to run, we can't. If we knew that we were safe, we should have left and not stayed here. The Alliance would definitely be able to find us." "Hey!" Xue Jinru looked at her father in despair. They were surrounded by the Alliance and the village chief that they thought was no match for the Alliance 9-star general. The outcome was obvious. They would be destroyed along with the village. Xue Jinru looked at the villagers. During this period of time, it would be a lie to say that she had no feelings for them. Especially when the village chief treated them really well. "Village chief, you are the strongest, so you can definitely run. Don't believe that anyone can protect you. Just run." Xue Jinru believed that with the village chief's strength, he would definitely be able to run. But the village chief, who was praying, didn't care about the voices around him at all. "Ha ha! Forget it, I will send all of you on your way." The moment he said this, the Alliance 9-star general slapped forwards. At that moment, a giant hand covered the sky and covered the village. It then gave off a terrifying aura and pressed down. "It is over." Xue Jinru and the others raised their heads and were about to close their eyes in despair. But just at that moment, A shocking phenomenon occurred. P.S. I have always wanted to go back to the 4th day, but I keep getting called out to eat supper. I will head out to eat and come back later to try. Chapter 487. If they hadn't personally witnessed it, they wouldn't have believed it. The ordinary-looking statue gave off an eye-catching light that covered the entire village. There was a loud explosion. The giant palm landed and everyone thought that they would die. Who knew that they were perfectly fine? The light from the statue blocked the attack? This, Shui Jinru's face was filled with shock and disbelief. She stared at the statue and huge waves rose up in her heart. Was what the village chief said true? The Alliance 9-star general was shocked and then laughed coldly. You do have some skills, but this is the end. The moment he said this, the 9-star general attacked once more. A vast power surged like a river and struck him. However, when he stretched out his hand, his heart suddenly stopped beating. His expression changed to one of panic and unease. Cold sweat dripped down from his forehead. He felt a terrifying aura cover him. The statue shook. The villagers cheered. The chief god was protecting them. From start to finish, they believed that the chief god wouldn't abandon them no matter what danger they faced. Shui Zhong sat on the ground with a thud and muttered to himself in a daze. I didn't expect it to be true. Suddenly, an illusory figure appeared on the statue. Its face could not be seen clearly, but one could feel the might that the illusory figure emitted. It was vast and unstoppable. What is that? The Alliance 9-star general was shocked. He panicked and wanted to flee. Instantly, the image punched forward. This fist was filled with an endless aura that pierced through the sky. One couldn't block it, and there was no way to block it at all. When the Alliance 9-star general saw the fist, he felt like his body was locked down. It was too late to flee. No, Ping. One fist killed the Alliance 9-star general. He turned into dust and disappeared from the sky above the village. The Alliance members who followed wanted to run. But it was too late. Everywhere the world-shocking power passed through, everything exploded. Not even a wail could be heard as they completely disappeared without a trace. To everyone, everything happened too quickly and it ended in the blink of an eye. The aura slowly disappeared and the statue returned to its usual calm state. Shui Zhong recovered from his momentary daze and knelt in front of the statue, worshipping it devoutly like the villagers. He believed everything that the village chief had said. It was all true. They were saved by the village chief and learned that the village chief had great strength. They thought of him as a hermit expert who was tired of fighting. Later on, the village chief said that everything they had was a gift from God, but they didn't believe him. Even if they said they believed him, it was just a perfunctory act. Until now, they completely understood. From the beginning, what the village chief said was true. He didn't lie to them, but they didn't believe it. They looked at the statue as if they could already feel the glory radiating from it. The village chief stood up and said, God told me that this place isn't safe. He told us to move. Everyone pack up and we will leave this place. Yes, village chief. Marshal Path Mountain. Go Zi looked at young master who was standing there with his eyes closed. He didn't ask anything and didn't disturb him. He didn't know what was going on with young master and didn't dare to ask. Very soon, Lin Fan opened his eyes. The matter had been resolved. He used the power of faith to transfer the power to the statue. The person who came was just a Dao Realm Stage 3 9-star general. With his current strength, it was really easy for him to crush him. But if it was a Dao Realm Stage 4 9-star general, he wouldn't be able to do much if he transferred his power to the statue. After all, this was just a projection of power and it couldn't reach the true strength of the main body. Such a thing happened in City of Darkness and a 9-star general died there, so the Alliance definitely wouldn't let this matter rest. So, it was safer for them to move. Young master, did something happen? Gozi asked. Lin Fan waved his hands. It is okay. Everything has been solved. It is just a small matter. It was indeed a small matter, but to others, it wasn't a small matter at all. It was a terrifyingly huge matter. Just at that moment, Zhang Tianshan hurried over. Sect leader, an old man wants to see you. Lin Fan was prepared to let Mu Gang continue to massage him and enjoy life. When he heard that someone wanted to see him, Lin Fan was a little confused. Do you know him? Lin Fan asked. Zhang Tianshan shook his head. No. Is he a guy or a girl? Old man, he doesn't seem reliable. I don't know where he came from, but he is a little arrogant. He said that if you don't see him, it will be your regret for the rest of your life. Zhang Tianshan had never seen such an arrogant person. If he wasn't a little old, he would have smacked him with a rod and made him run. Lin Fan thought about it and waved his hands. Let him wait. My body is a little tired and I need to rest for a while. He then told Mu Gang to continue the massage. It was so comfortable, so how could he be interrupted by some unimportant things? Mountain entrance. An old man who looked like a celestial stroked his beard. He looked really old, but his eyes were special and gave off a bright glow. This sect doesn't look like much, but it is gathering the luck of heaven and earth. An expert is about to appear. There is no hope for the former imperial dynasty. There will never be a prosperous imperial dynasty. We have to follow the times. The old man stood in front of the mountain entrance and felt that his arrival would bring about a huge change to the sect. Of course, he was thinking about how he would be respected like a senior. Time passed minute by minute and second by second. The old man's calm expression changed. He waited for a long time. This was different from what he thought. The old man smiled like he thought about something. Interesting, really interesting. You know that I have an extraordinary background and want to receive me with the highest standards? The old man was more active and thought about this possibility right away. Since that is the case, then I will give you some time. A long time passed. Zhang Tianshan passed the entrance and turned his head to take a look. He noticed that the old man was still waiting. He didn't want to bother, but forget it. There was a need to remind him that there was no point in waiting here. He then walked towards the old man. The old man looked at Zhang Tianshan and smiled confidently. Your sect leader is here? I don't care about such a fancy welcoming ceremony, but since your sect leader wants to, then I. Before he finished, Zhang Tianshan interrupted him. Why are you still here? Zhang Tianshan frowned and felt like this old man was a little problematic. What was he talking about? He didn't understand what he was saying at all. Huh! The old man was stunned like he didn't expect him to say such a thing. Zhang Tianshan didn't care about his expression and said directly, My sect leader is busy and can't come out to see you. Why don't you head back first, and when he is free, then you can come over. What? The old man was filled with disbelief and then hollered, You didn't bring my words? Zhang Tianshan said, I did. Sect leader said that regrets aren't important, the key is that he really doesn't have time now. The old man couldn't accept such treatment. Who was he? Others personally invited him out and he didn't go. Now that he took the initiative to do so, he was actually looked down upon like that. Hateful, how hateful. With his temperament, he would naturally turn around and leave. Then, he left behind a few words. Your martial path mountain missed out on me, and that is your loss. Don't regret it in the future. That was something he would only do under normal circumstances. The current situation wasn't normal. The old man didn't leave. He took in a deep breath and calmed himself down. Is he looking down on me? Go tell him that I know fate, I am connected to yin and yang, there is nothing I don't know. Zhang Tianxian frowned and muttered, Damn, another scammer. What did you say? The old man felt like Zhang Tianshan was saying something bad. Zhang Tianshan waved his hands. I didn't say anything. Wait a moment, I will tell you. He turned around and left. He dissed in his heart. Damn, how were there so many cheaters in the world, to cheat people all the way to Marshall Path Mountain? Hayes. Of course, he really went to tell Lin Fan. That was because he thought about himself in the past. Wasn't he a cheater? His acting skills were not bad and he was probably really experienced. If he really kept him in Marshall Path Mountain, he could teach him. It would be one less cheater in the world, and then everything would be filled with beauty. Seeing Zhang Tianshan leave, the old man shook his head helplessly. He didn't expect that he would face such a situation when he came to help the future leader. To the old man, he definitely didn't report back to him. This kid was so tough to deal with. After a long while, Zhang Tianshan returned. Sect leader said that he can meet you, but to prove whether or not you are really talented, he will give you a simple question. If you can answer it, then he will meet you. The old man said, "Okay, speak." Zhang Tianshan said, "Where is sect leader's cousin?" To the old man, he was well versed in the past and there was nothing that could stop him. Thus, he didn't care much about it. He just had a bad impression of Zhang Tianshan. He felt that this person was a kid. When he heard that question, the old man was stunned. What was that question? What did it have to do with him where sect leader's cousin was? He had never seen him and didn't know what he looked like. Why didn't he ask where his 8th aunt's nephew's daughter was? This question is a little preposterous. The old man forced a smile and asked. He really didn't expect that it would be so difficult to meet someone. That was just too much. Zhang Tianshan said, "I am not. This is what the sect leader told me to ask you." He told the sect leader that the old man outside was a cheater who said that he knew destiny and was connected to yin and yang. He made it sound like he was really amazing. This attracted Lin Fan's interest. Since that was the case, then he didn't hold back. The old man took in a deep breath. "I am a human and not an omniscient god, so I can't answer this question." Zhang Tianshan muttered softly. "If you don't know, then why are you bragging?" The old man stared at him in rage. "What are you saying?" Zhang Tianshan shook his head. "I didn't say anything." Chapter 488. The old man was the divinator. He was an expert in seclusion. Lin Wani invited him but he didn't agree. That was because he predicted that the former imperial dynasty wouldn't be able to return to its former glory. Moreover, he predicted that Lin Wani would face a calamity. If he followed beside him, he would suffer. Of course, he couldn't reveal the secrets of the heavens, otherwise he would be the scapegoat. This was why he came out to search for the person destined by the heavens. If Lin Wani knew that the divinator had left right after he left, he would have smashed his head. "Was this what you meant when you told me you wanted to live in seclusion and farm? Who would believe you?" Zhang Tianshan said regretfully, "If you can't answer the question, the sect leader won't meet you. You should leave, this place isn't suitable for you." The divinator was stunned. What kind of joke was that? He actually said that this place wasn't suitable? He didn't want to meet the Marshall Path Mountain sect leader, but for his own pride. He wanted to meet him and ask him directly. Who was he looking down on? What kind of status did the divinator have? When others begged him, he didn't care at all. Now that he sent himself to him, he was actually despised. He couldn't accept such humiliation. "I won't leave. Today, I want to meet the Marshall Path Mountain sect leader," the divinator said stubbornly. His expression was totally different from before and it was so huge that it was a little scary. He was going all out against Marshall Path Mountain. He had never suffered such humiliation before. Zhang Tianshan looked at him and didn't know what to say. What was the point? Forget it, forget it. Since he was so firm, then he would just wait. Zhang Tianshan shook his head and left. He was helpless towards this person who insisted on fighting to the death. The divinator looked at Marshall Path Mountain and rage flashed in his eyes. More importantly, he didn't want to leave this place. Looking closely, Marshall Path Mountain was covered in luck. In other words, it was the will of the heavens. If he missed this shop, there wouldn't be another one. Mu Gang rubbed her palms, causing them to heat up. She pressed onto his back, and then her fingers curled. Her fingernails touched his back, and it felt really numb. Comfortable. Lin Fan closed his eyes. It was so comfortable that he was about to fall asleep. Head, I don't think the old faker will leave until he sees you. Zhang Tianshan ran over once more. Why don't I just take a look? That old man isn't young anymore. He is still lying to people at his age. How pitiful. Wait. Lin Fan closed his eyes and told Zhang Tianshan not to speak. He was feeling good, at least until he was done. After a long time, Lin Fan opened his eyes and sat up straight. He twisted his neck, feeling great. He looked towards Zhang Tianshan. Are you thinking of letting him join Martial Path Mountain? How can that be? It just looks pitiful. Zhang Tianshan shook his head and said. He would never admit that he just wanted to teach the old faker a lesson and make him repent. Lin Fan looked at Zhang Tianshan. After a while, all right, let's go take a look. At the entrance of the mountain, in the distance, Zhao Lishan and Sword Head were discussing what to do next. Zhao Lishan looked at the old man standing at the entrance of the mountain and fell into deep thought. Sword Head, look at that person. Don't you find him familiar? Sword Head came back to his senses and looked into the distance. At first, he didn't see anything, but shortly after, his expression changed. It was obvious that he recognized who it was. Why would the divinator appear here? Sword Head was shocked. It wasn't because something amazing had happened, but because the divinator was a special person and rarely appeared in the world. Now that he appeared in Martial Path Mountain, Sword Head was shocked. I have heard of him. Zhao Lishan had never seen the divinator before. He had been in Laoshan City for a long time and was a normal commoner. He had never had any conflicts with the outside world. Naturally, he hadn't seen the divinator, but he had heard of his name. I heard that the divinator would avoid calamity and wouldn't go to places that wouldn't benefit him. Did he come to Martial Path Mountain because there was something he was interested in? Sword Head was confused. If there was something he was interested in, it would be young Master Lin. Apart from young Master Lin, he couldn't think of any other shocking place. The divinator stood at the entrance and suppressed the rage in his heart as he waited. He had already thought about it. When he met the Martial Path Mountain sect leader, if he didn't apologize to him, he would show off his talent and then leave. He would let him regret it. He wanted to tell him that it was their good fortune that he came. Unfortunately, they didn't cherish it. Then, he wouldn't accompany them to the end and let them regret it. He is here. When the divinator saw Zhang Tianshan walk over from afar, a smile appeared on his face. But that smile seemed to be sending a message that they didn't know what was good for them. My sect leader is here, Zhang Tianshan said. Why did the old man want to meet the sect leader? He even forgot to say that he was the deputy sect leader, and if he had anything, he could tell him. Lin Fan said impatiently, Who is it? Why does he want to meet me? Martial Path Mountain was developing well, and batch after batch of experts came. They had enough manpower, and the only thing they lacked was top combat strength. But that didn't matter. He would become a top expert himself and didn't need others to be stronger than him. You are the sect leader. It really isn't easy for me to come here to meet you. The divinator's tone wasn't good. He looked towards Lin Fan and wanted to say something. But that one look stunned the divinator. Yeah. How eye-piercing. The divinator covered his eyes and his expression was really exaggerated. Lin Fan looked at Zhang Tianshan like he was asking him, why did he ask him to meet a lunatic? Zhang Tianshan felt like he was innocent. This had nothing to do with him, so how would he know that he was a fool? The divinator didn't dare to use the Eye of Destiny to look at Lin Fan as it was too eye-catching. If he looked for too long, his eyes would be blinded. He only wanted to say that. How terrifying! Even when the imperial dynasty was at its peak, it didn't have such thick destiny. Moreover, the destiny of the imperial dynasty didn't come from one person but from numerous people. But now, this person's destiny was even stronger than when the imperial dynasty was at its peak. It terrified the divinator so much that his heart jumped. At that moment, flames burned in the divinator's heart. He only thought about one thing, which was that if he could mix with Lin Fan, then his future would be amazing. Even a pig would be able to fly if he stood on the wind. And he wanted to be the pig that stood on top of the wind. Although he called himself the Heaven's Fate Master, when he was weak, he was extremely unlucky. His fate was full of ups and downs, and he had endless disasters. After he could see through destiny, he started to play with people with destiny. He used their destiny to slowly change himself. But now, he realized that all the people he had seen with destiny added up weren't even as thick as one of his fingers. Damn. How was there such a person? Even the son of the heavens wouldn't be so vicious. Lin Fan frowned and felt like this old man was arrogant. He dared to be so arrogant in his territory. He was just so arrogant. Not to mention Zhang Tianshan begging to let him in. He had to teach him a lesson to let him know how important it was to speak nicely. But, suddenly, the divinator walked forwards with a friendly and respectful expression. I have heard of sect leader Lin's name for a long time. I came from so far away just to see your true face. Now that I have seen it, I am filled with emotions. Sect leader Lin is like a dragon amongst humans, a dragon amongst dragons. To be able to see sect leader Lin is a blessing that I have cultivated for 3 lives. Zhang Tianshan was stunned. His lips moved and he could only mutter to express what he was feeling. Previously, the old faker was very arrogant, as if he was the lawless one. But looking at the situation, he instantly turned into a bootlicker, and his bootlicker was really sharp. He wanted to ask the other party, "You're so good at sucking up to your face?" But thinking about how he was just trying to earn a living, he forgave him. After all, it wasn't easy to earn a living. He was the same in the past, but he was lucky and didn't have to worry about food. He even became the deputy sect leader. Just thinking about it made him feel like the heavens were taking care of him. Lin Fan didn't know what to say after being sucked up by the Heaven's Fate Master. What do you want to do? He could see that Lin Fan was someone with cultivation. He should be around Dao Realm Stage 6. If it was in the past, he would have looked up to him. But now, if he wasn't Dao Realm Stage 7, he wouldn't even want to speak. The divinator said, "Sect leader Lin, I didn't come here to do anything. I was influenced by sect leader Lin's charisma and want to follow sect leader Lin to do something big. I believe that under sect leader Lin's leadership, I will be able to shine again." Lin Fan looked at him and just looked at him. The divinator felt a little uneasy from Lin Fan's gaze, and he felt like he was being suspected. Even if someone held a knife to his neck and told him to scram out of Martial Path Mountain, he wouldn't. To be able to meet someone with such terrifying luck was a huge fortuitous encounter. If he could let this go, then why not just smash his head into a wall? Although he didn't know what the luck of the people beside Lin Fan was like, without even looking, he knew that their luck would change. Martial Path Mountain doesn't accept the old and weak. What ability do you have? Lin Fan asked. The divinator said, "Sect leader Lin, I know fate and can avoid calamity. I will definitely be of great help to Martial Path Mountain." "Okay, then let me test you." Lin Fan thought about it and asked, "Do you know where my cousin is?" The divinator was stunned once more. Why was it this question again? Did these people really think that he was a god? If he was, then why would he come to this place? But after seeing Lin Fan's luck, the divinator followed his heart and said calmly, "Sect leader Lin, I really can't divine it." If it was someone else, the divinator's attitude would have changed. He would have said something. Scram. Chapter 489. You don't even know this, yet you call yourself knowing destiny, connecting yin and yang, a fraud. Lin Fan was filled with disdain. He didn't have high hopes for this old man who had come to seek refuge. Although Lin Fan was Dao Realm Stage 6, he didn't know where he came from. Especially at such a crucial moment, he couldn't just let him go. Who knew where he came from and what his goal was? The divinator's face turned red. He swore to God that this was the worst humiliation he had ever received. This was too much. However, he was very worried now. It wasn't that the divinator didn't think about it. He came to Marshall Path Mountain to join them. Even if he was strong, they might not believe him. Head, I'm afraid it's not easy for this old faker to get along outside. Why don't you let him follow me and let me train him well? Zhang Tianshan didn't have much of a reaction to the word scammer. After all, he wasn't a scammer. Moreover, he was talking about him and it had nothing to do with him. The divinator didn't even look at Zhang Tianshan. Out of the entire Marshall Path Mountain, only Lin Fan was worth his attention. The others were all trash to him and weren't worth mentioning at all. He saw through Zhang Tianshan's cultivation. Such a weak person wanted a divinator to follow him? Was there something wrong with his head? Sect leader Lin, to tell you the truth, I know your father. The divinator said. He had no choice but to say this. If he didn't, he wouldn't be able to do things smoothly. Oh. Lin Fan wasn't interested. Alright, I'll give you one last chance. Where is my dad? The divinator. Holy shit. If it wasn't for his inner quality, he really wanted to curse. After asking my cousin, I asked your father. You don't even know, so how would I know? Calm down, you can't get angry, you have to stay calm. Sect leader Lin, I really don't know. The divinator really wanted to kneel down and tell Lin Fan to take him in. His luck was really strong and he really wanted to follow him. He wanted to fly into the sky and stand beside the sun. Could he give him such a chance? Lin Fan shook his head. Disappointing, how disappointing. You don't know anything and you dare to say that you know your destiny. I hate people who brag the most. When the divinator heard Lin Fan's words, it was as though there were thousands of sharp blades stabbing into his heart. Oh my God! Was this even something a human could say? What did he take him for? Did he take him for a god? Also, what's with the look in this guy's eyes when he wants me to follow him? Zhang Tianshan was unhappy with the divinator. This guy would not shed a tear until he saw his coffin. He had clearly given him a chance, but he did not cherish it. This was truly disappointing. Why did he have to brag in front of Lin Fan? Don't you know that this kid has a lot of tricks up his sleeve? Not even the slightest bit of movement can escape his eyes. Sigh, you look quite old, but I didn't expect you to still be so young. You haven't settled down at this age, and you're still fooling around. Zhang Tianshan wasn't young, but at least he was smart. Now that he was the deputy sect leader, his status was pretty good. Sect leader Lin, I really can't do what you said. Other people can't do it either. The divinator said. Lin Fan said, it's normal for others to not be able to do it. But since you claim to know destiny, you're definitely not a normal person. If you don't even know this, then how can you show that you're different from others, right? The divinator looked at Lin Fan like he was right no matter what he said. What could he do? He just wanted to ask what else could he say since he had already said that? Young Master Lin. At that moment, Zhao Lishan and Sword Head walked over from the distance. The divinator looked at the two of them. He didn't care at first, but when he saw Sword Head, his expression changed. A person who was already dead was still alive. Is his luck really that strong? The divinator muttered and found it unbelievable. If he hadn't personally witnessed it, he wouldn't have believed it. Zhao Lishan pulled Lin Fan to the side and said softly, Sword Head told me that this person is a divinator who is really strong. If he is here to join us, we can consider taking him in. Lin Fan asked, Sword Head knows him? I do, but he might not know Swordhead, Zhao Lishan said. After he heard Swordhead say all this, he felt that this divinator was different. He might not be the strongest, but he was really good in other areas and had abilities that normal people couldn't have. After hearing Zhao Lishan's words, Lin Fan nodded his head. He did need people now. In terms of strength, he wasn't important. But since he had other special abilities that made one really curious, he wasn't dumb. He was just teasing him. The divinator didn't know what the two of them were talking about, but they would look at him from time to time. It actually made him a little nervous. It was like they were testing him and he was worried about whether or not he would be chosen. Such a situation wouldn't have happened in the past. Not long later, Lin Fan asked, "Do you really want to follow me?" Follow? The divinator was stunned and then said, "Sect leader Lin, I don't want to follow you. I am someone who wants to do something. Don't worry about whether or not I want to do something. I just want to ask you, do you want to follow me?" Lin Fan frowned and asked impatiently. What an annoying fellow. If he wanted to follow, then follow. Why did he have so many tricks? The divinator said helplessly, "I want to." Lin Fan nodded. "Okay, since you want to, then I will take you in as a disciple. Think about it. If you are willing, then so be it. If not, then forget it." When Swordhead heard young Master Lin's words, he was stunned. Although he wasn't familiar with the divinator, he knew that he was a proud person. He had roamed the world for a long time and had a high status. How could he become someone else's disciple? One didn't even need to think about it. That was basically impossible. Swordhead shook his head. It seemed like young Master Lin was going to miss out on the help of an expert. If it was meant to be, then it was meant to be. Swordhead couldn't say much. The choice was up to young Master Lin. They could only tell young Master Lin about his background. Whether or not he treated him was up to young Master Lin. The divinator looked at Lin Fan and blinked. He was a little stunned. Disciple? Damn. He actually said such words. If someone else said such words to him, he would have risked his life to fight him. That was just too much. Did he really think that he was here to beg? At that moment, rage burned in the divinator's heart. He insulted him time and time again, and he was just a bully. The Eye of Destiny looked at Lin Fan. It was so King dazzling. Okay, I am here to follow sect leader Lin. Naturally, I will listen to your arrangement. The divinator cupped his fists and said. His expression was firm, and he didn't seem like he was lying at all. Swordhead looked at the divinator with his mouth agape. He was totally stunned. Was he a fake divinator? Zhang Tianshan, since that is the case, then I will leave him to you. Bring him along in the future. Lin Fan said. Zhang Tianshan smiled. Don't worry, sect leader, I will arrange everything. Lin Fan knew his background, but he definitely wouldn't trust him. Who knew what his goal was for coming to Martial Path Mountain? But as long as he wasn't a dog of the Alliance, so what if he gave him a chance? Zhao Lishan stood beside Swordhead and said softly, Swordhead, didn't you say that this person has an extraordinary background? Why can he take such humiliation? Swordhead didn't understand. He thought about it for a moment and said slowly, maybe he has a request, which is why he is willing to take such humiliation. Truthfully, he really didn't understand what the divinator was thinking about. Young Master Lin was really amazing, but even so, there was no need for him to lower himself like that, right? Since he wasn't welcomed, then he could just leave. What was the point? The divinator didn't know what Swordhead was thinking, otherwise, he would have grumbled. What do you know? If I meet someone with such great luck, let alone becoming a disciple, I'll even consider becoming a servant. A rare chance was right in front of his eyes. If he didn't cherish it, he would regret it in the future. Zhao Lishan thought about it. Then, we have to be careful in the future. Since the matter was solved, Lin Fan wasn't interested anymore. He just wanted to have a good rest. As for the divinator joining in, That was just a small interlude, and it wasn't much at all. Zhang Tianshan took the divinator away. To Zhang Tianshan, he always felt that Lin Fan was a fraud who wasn't doing well. Compared to him, the gap was just too huge. Looking at how pitiful he was, if he had time, he would teach him a lesson. He would develop him into a qualified fraud. The divinator heaved a sigh of relief. As long as he could join Martial Path Mountain and enjoy the benefits of the luck, then it would be a success. In the past, his thoughts were really simple. He just wanted to find someone with decent luck. He didn't need to reach the peak of the dynasty, but he didn't want it to be too bad. Who would have thought that there would be such a monstrous genius with such luck? If he couldn't even grab such a chance, then he would have lived his life for nothing. He looked at Zhang Tianshan, who was leading the way. This person was covered in luck and his destiny was showing signs of riches and honor. In the future, he would probably be someone important. With his strength, for him to have such a destiny, he was already an anomaly. Logically speaking, such strength should have disappeared long ago and he should have become one of the commoners. Suddenly, the divinator stopped on the spot. His eyes opened wide and he was in a daze. What are you doing? Why aren't you leaving? Zhang Tianshan frowned. What was going on with this old fellow? What was he looking at? He followed his gaze and saw that the person in the distance was Go Zi. What was there to be surprised about? Deputy Sect Leader Zhang, who is this person? The divinator asked anxiously. Zhang Tianshan said impatiently, Go Zi, he is the sect leader's servant. Don't offend him, otherwise the sect leader will beat you up. The divinator was stunned. The image of a great emperor. He was the second luckiest person in Martial Path Mountain. If he didn't ask to die and nothing unexpected happened, his future would be amazing. I want to become a servant. The divinator muttered to himself as if he had discovered something extremely important. He could tell that the other party's luck was also acquired. It wasn't Xiantian luck at all. That could only mean that his destiny was formed under sect leader Lin's guidance. That was just too terrifying. Zhang Tianshan took a look and heard his muttering. He only had one thought in his mind. Something was wrong with him. Chapter 490. This is an amazing place. This was the position that the divinator gave Martial Path Mountain. He only had one thought in his heart. If he could, he was willing to become Lin Fan's most loyal and friendly partner. That night, the divinator stood on a mountain peak in the distance. His eyes shone with a golden light as he observed the landscape around Martial Path Mountain. A normal mountain range with nothing special about it. He was certain that the changes in Martial Path Mountain were all caused by Lin Fan alone. He was just so sick in the head. He had to work hard to get into the group. He had to show his strength to gain their respect. When that happened, luck would be on his body, and he would charge forwards bravely. Imperial Dynasty. The lights were bright. In the Imperial Dynasty prison, there were furious roars and shrill screams. Zhu Xiang stood there without moving at all. His expression was calm but his eyes were filled with panic. King Wudong, you despicable person. We came to join you and this is how you treat us? The tentacle broke through the air and pierced his body. Very quickly, his body disintegrated and his flesh and blood were all absorbed. All that was left was a pile of clothes on the ground. Zhu Xiang sensed that something was happening in the Imperial Dynasty. That was because from the start, maids kept disappearing. Later on, they showed no signs of disappearing, but those experts who joined the Imperial Dynasty disappeared for no reason. He wanted to find out. In the end, he realized that everything was because of King Wudong and King Wudong was eating people. When King Wudong noticed Zhu Xiang, he didn't tell him to keep it a secret. Instead, he patted his shoulder. Everything I do is for the Imperial Dynasty. As my most trusted person, are you willing to head forwards with me? At that moment, Zhu Xiang was touched. He knelt in front of King Wudong and swore that he was willing to help King Wudong expand his territory. But now, he looked at the scenes in front of him. King Wudong's viciousness made him really afraid. This wasn't something a human could do. A living person disappeared in the blink of an eye. Each time King Wudong swallowed a person, he could sense a dark aura spreading out from King Wudong's body. But he could sense that King Wudong's strength had increased. Relying on devouring others to strengthen themselves, this kind of method was even crueler and more ferocious than the corrupt path. But he could understand. The pressure from the Alliance headquarters was just too huge. With the current strength of the Imperial dynasty, they didn't have the ability to fight against the Alliance. They didn't even have a chance. Very quickly, the screams in the dungeon disappeared, and the people who were captured also disappeared from this world. Congratulations for improving your strength. Zhu Xiang knelt down and congratulated. King Wudong stood in the darkness and his eyes shone red. Very quickly, the red light disappeared and he walked out of the darkness with a smile on his face. He was the same as before and there were no changes at all. How is Lu Xian and the Alliance? King Wudong asked. Zhu Xiang said, Your Majesty, Lu Xian is really ambitious. Everything he has was given to him by Your Majesty, but he colluded with the Alliance. I followed Your Majesty's instructions and told some secrets to some people. I think Lu Xian knows about it and should have reported it to the Alliance. It's just that I have a question. Why didn't you kill Lu Xian? King Wudong was calm. He is still useful. The current Imperial dynasty didn't have the ability to go up against the Alliance on the surface. The Alliance could use brute force to suppress the Imperial dynasty. As for the Imperial dynasty, they could only rely on some schemes to slowly strengthen themselves. King Wudong didn't trust others and only trusted himself. As long as his strength rose to a certain level, all problems would be solved and there wouldn't be any more problems. Zhu Xiang lowered his head and didn't say anything more. Martial Path Mountain. Lin Fan officially started his path of expansion. Now, there were many experts following Martial Path Mountain. Unless they faced top sects, they would be unobstructed and no one would be able to stop them at all. Pre-war mobilization. Those disciples who believed in Lin Fan basically didn't need to cultivate and just worshipped Lin Fan. As long as they worshipped him, they would be able to increase their strength. This was why only lunatics would work so hard to increase their strength. When Lin Fan appeared, those disciples worshipped him like they were possessed. They were all addicted. Each time they worshipped him, they didn't feel anything, but as they continued to worship him, one day their cultivation would suddenly increase. In their opinion, cultivation was way too king easy. Lin Fan wanted to say something to motivate them, but looking at the situation, he didn't need to say anything. Maybe this was because his charisma was just too terrifying. The divinator looked at the people worshipping him and was shocked. These people were really amazing. To follow Lin Fan, who was so lucky they actually worshipped him so crazily. That was just too terrifying. This was his second day in Martial Path Mountain, and he hadn't merged into the group yet. He knew that he had to think of a way to merge into them. If he didn't work hard, then he would be no different from a salted fish. Sect Leader Lin, let me divine your luck for this trip. The divinator waved his palm in front of him, and weird runes appeared in the air. He couldn't understand them, but they seemed really strong. Scoff. As time went on, the divinator's expression changed. Solemn, confused, and weird. Lin Fan took a look and didn't bother about him at all. Head out, expand our territory, and fight for Martial Path Mountain. Yes, Sect Leader. The faith disciples left swiftly. They were all pumped up. This was a battle to open up Martial Path Mountain, and it was a huge matter that made them all excited. The divinator was anxious. Haze, I am divining, how can I, Pata? Zhang Tianshan patted the divinator's shoulder. Okay, stop with all this nonsense. We are all on the same side, so stop lying. But your move is really amazing. What are those runes? They are so realistic and I am interested in them. To be able to use such realistic moves and still end up in such a bad state, that only meant that there was something wrong with his brain. Zhang Tianxian was a little interested. He had already spoken like that. Logically speaking, as long as one was knowledgeable, they would definitely express their feelings when they heard his word. The divinator was furious. He felt like he was being underestimated. Such a situation had never happened before and now it really happened. He wanted to question Lin Fan. As the Martial Path Mountain sect leader, why didn't he give him face? But even if he was 10 times more courageous, he wouldn't dare to. He wanted to stay in Martial Path Mountain, and if he missed this chance, he would have no more. Sect leader Lin, Sword Head and I have scouted the situation 1,000 miles out. There are more and more sects and there is also a country, Zhao Lishan said. Lin Fan nodded. Our target is the sects outside and slowly occupy them. In the current era, the weak sects don't have the ability to protect themselves. They still exist, but they are unwilling to give up what they have now. The higher-ups of the sects all know that they want to disband their sects, but don't have a good reason. They also don't have the determination, so we will be the bad guys. To think that such a shameless thing could be described in such a reasonable manner. Zhang Tianshan muttered. He always thought that he underestimated Lin Fan, but it seemed like he really did. Instantly, Zhang Tianshan sensed the terrifying gaze and raised his head awkwardly. His expression was solemn and respectful as he raised his thumb. Sect leader, amazing. Zhao Lishan said, Young Master Lin, will there be repercussions? Lin Fan smiled. What repercussions can there be? After so many things, isn't the strongest the king? Since the alliance is here, the so-called sects are useless and might as well not exist. So, what we need to do is to let Martial Path Mountain only exist in the world. Shock. Zhao Lishan and the others looked at Lin Fan in shock. It was obvious that they didn't expect young Master Lin to have such a thought. To let Martial Path Mountain only exist in the world, who would have the courage to say such words? Even if others heard it, they would just laugh out loud. Zhao Lishan and the others knew that Lin Fan was strong and at the same time, they were on the same boat. But they still didn't believe it and hid it deep in their hearts. The one who was the most emotional was the divinator. He looked at Lin Fan excitedly. Other people didn't believe it, but he did. Damn. As expected, he had a good eye for talent. If he had divined it earlier and met sect leader Lin earlier, then the situation would have been different. Before the alliance broke through the border, he had been divining it, but it was all gray and he couldn't see the future. He could only see that it was a disaster. After the alliance broke through the border, he made some progress and was able to see some clues. On a certain day, after the clouds were pushed aside, one could see the clear sky. Everything was clear and he saw where his future luck was. This was why when Lin Wani found him, he rejected him right away. Stop dreaming if you want to recover the former imperial dynasty. The former imperial dynasty was destined to be wiped out. Lin Wani's luck wasn't weak, but he dragged a dynasty that was destined to be wiped out and helped the former imperial dynasty survive. His luck was reduced by half and a calamity was destined to happen. Of course, he definitely wouldn't tell Lin Wani all this. The secrets of the heavens couldn't be revealed. If he revealed too much, he would be punished by the heavens. I believe that sect leader will be able to sweep the sects in the world. Such actions will be a huge achievement and one day, sect leader will become the top person in the world. His light will shine across the world and everyone will worship him. The divinator said. He was really emotional and hoped that such a day would come. Zhang Tianshan patted the divinator's head. You old man, you are so good at bootlicking. How did you end up in such a tragic state? Hayes, I really don't understand. The divinator was furious. He had such a high status, and this deputy sect leader dared to be so arrogant. Sword Head looked at Zhang Tianshan and could only say that he didn't know where he came from. He was calm and didn't fear anything. Amazing. Chapter 491. Young Master Lin, the one ahead is just a mid-tier sect. We can solve it, so there is no need for so much trouble. Marshall Path Mountain occupied 1,000 miles, and there were sects 1,000 miles away. They weren't really strong. They were just mid-tier. Either he or the Sword Master would be able to deal with it easily. They didn't even need to attack. They just needed to release their aura, and they would be able to suppress them such that they wouldn't even think about fighting back. Lin Fan was really calm, and one couldn't see any emotions from him. Some things need to be done personally. He could say that he needed rage points. If he let them solve it so easily, then what was there to see? Lin Fan was eager to get to Dao Realm Stage 4. Once he reached Stage 4, his strength would definitely be able to fight against the strongest 9-star generals. So what if the top sects had experts? When both sides fought, it would depend on who could last until the end. The divinator was in a bad mood. First, he was ignored by Lin Fan. That was okay, as he had a good attitude and wouldn't bother about such things. But Zhang Tianshan actually smacked his head. That dog was just so lawless. If not for him being the deputy sect leader of Marshall Path Mountain, he definitely wouldn't have tolerated it. He would have chopped off his hand. But one had to listen to one's heart. Following a lucky person was such a joyous thing, so why did he have to do all those fancy things? Great Tribulation Temple. This sect was Lin Fan's target this time. The overall strength of the sect was decent, and it was considered a mid-tier sect with a Dao Realm expert. This was a Dao Realm expert that their sect had spent so much effort to get to. It really wasn't easy. They didn't join Buddha Alliance and didn't move their sect to Buddha Alliance territory. In their words, they were sects with dreams and goals. They would rather be the head of a chicken than the tail of a phoenix. Just looking at the 1,000 miles around, which power was stronger than their Great Tribulation Temple? At that moment, in the main hall, the higher-ups of Great Tribulation Temple were all gathered together. Sect leader, there is a faction that is developing really quickly near our Great Tribulation Temple. It has already seriously affected our position. An elder said. He was really worried that such a thing would happen, and he felt that things weren't going well. The surrounding elders started discussing among themselves. Right, a while ago, many people passed by the Great Tribulation Temple, and after asking, they found out that there was a really arrogant faction there that wiped out all the sects within 1,000 miles. Those normal sects couldn't fight back at all, and were all chased away. Of course, there were also some elders who did not take this matter to heart. Actually, there's no need to worry about this matter. The ones we're eliminating are just some ordinary sections. What can those sects count as? If they don't offend us, it is okay. But if they dare to offend us, we will let them know how tragic the outcome is. The sect leader's expression was solemn and dignified, and he didn't say anything. Finally, he raised his hand and waved it down. Be quiet. Don't take this matter to heart. Send some disciples to scout out the situation and see what kind of background this new force has. He was a little curious about this new force. As they got closer to Great Tribulation Temple, there would definitely be a conflict in the future. Therefore, they had to be fully prepared. If the other party's strength wasn't sufficient, then he would naturally have to completely destroy the other party before they grew up, so as to prevent future troubles. There was a loud rumble. The entire hall began to shake violently. What happened? The sect leader's face was dark and sunken. What was going on outside for there to be such a commotion? To the people from Great Tribulation Temple, they didn't know what was going on. The reason was because Lin Fan descended from the sky and jumped down. When his feet landed on the ground, power spread out from his legs. Cracks appeared on the ground and spread in all directions. Lin Fan wanted to use a simple and violent method to shock everyone. At the same time, he would draw all the Great Tribulation Temple disciples out and let them personally witness how their sects were disbanded. So, if you have rage points, then throw them at me. I will take them all. The divinator exclaimed. Sect leader Lin is such an energetic young man. Zhang Tianshan wasn't here. If he was, he would definitely frown and scold. Was his brain so smart? Why was he so good at sucking up? Lin Fan's method of descent was a little violent. The Great Tribulation Temple disciples surged out like fish. They didn't dare to get too close, but they had already surrounded him. But when they saw the situation, their faces turned ashen white and they broke out in a cold sweat. The ground was cracking. Many buildings had cracks on them like they could collapse at any moment. Many people were discussing. Who is he? He actually dares to cause trouble here. How terrifying! What did he do to cause such an effect? He is an expert and we can't go up against him. Who is going up? Take them down. I don't dare. I don't dare either. They only dared to look on and not charge up to take him down. Rage points increased. Some gave very few rage points, but some were decent and worth praising. The first wave of rage points made Lin Fan feel really good. Where are the higher-ups of your Great Tribulation Temple? Are they so frightened that they scrammed? Lin Fan stood with his arms behind his back. His voice was like a bell that spread out in the Great Tribulation Temple. The moment he said this, preposterous, a furious roar spread out from the distance. The Great Tribulation Temple sect leader's face was dark and sunken. Rage burned in his heart. Who dared to cause trouble here? Very quickly, he saw Lin Fan, who was surrounded by people. Who are you? What is your goal for coming here? The sect leader hollered. The surrounding elders were furious. But when they saw how calm he was, they were shocked. This kid was too calm. So did he have a trump card? But all of that wasn't important now. As long as they dared to cause trouble here, they would have to pay a price. This was how overbearing they were. Lin Fan took a look and was slightly disappointed. There weren't any strong people. Only the sect leader was a Dao Realm Stage 1 expert. The others were just SOSO. Lin Fan raised his hand and everyone thought that he was going to attack. Guys, I didn't come here to cause trouble. I just want to persuade all of you to leave. In the future, the Great Tribulation Temple will just disappear. I don't want to attack and I don't want to leave any wounds on your bodies. I just want to persuade all of you to know what is good for you. Uproar. Everyone from the Great Tribulation Temple was furious. Not only was the sect leader angry, but even the normal disciples were furious. They really wanted to slice Lin Fan into pieces. How could there be such an arrogant person? He obviously didn't care about any of them at all. How despicable. He was so infuriating. Sword Head, do you think that young Master Lin's words are so infuriating? Zhao Lishan asked. They were all informed by young Master Lin that they didn't need to attack and just needed to look on. Sword Head replied simply. He didn't care about all of that, but that young Master Lin said that there wouldn't be any sects apart from Martial Path Mountain in the world. Would his sword palace be disbanded too? Just like what young Master Lin said to the Great Tribulation Temple. Preposterous. The Great Tribulation Temple sect leader had white hair. Don't think that just because the sect had to be bald, it was a lie. The sect leader in front of him had white hair and a white beard. His face was flushed red. He was infuriated by Lin Fan's words. This kid was just too arrogant. Rage points increased. Lin Fan was satisfied with the current situation. He personally attacked and hoped to totally infuriate him to gain a bunch of rage points. Who are you? The sect leader asked. Lin Fan said, speaking of which, we are neighbors. Martial Path Mountain sect leader, your Great Tribulation Temple is in the territory that my sect has occupied. I don't want to kill, so I advise you to pack up and disband your sect. Go and live a carefree life. The battle between sects isn't suitable for weaklings like you. The sect leader was stunned and then said coldly, You are the sect leader that rose up recently. The Great Tribulation Temple has no animosity with you, but now you are here to cause trouble. Aren't you looking down on us? Lin Fan waved his hands. It isn't that I don't care about your Great Tribulation Temple, but I don't know where your sect came from. It is just that your sect is in my territory, so just disband. Damn it. The surrounding disciples gritted their teeth. They were all disciples of the Great Tribulation Temple, and they were bound together. Now that someone was provoking their sect, how could they take it? Arrogant kid, I will teach you a lesson. An elder was furious. It was obvious that he couldn't take it anymore. He jumped up from the crowd and his robe swelled up. Power roared out and the aura he gave off was really extraordinary. He looked like he was going to suppress you with one move. Elder, teach him a lesson. Okay, soon. When they saw that the elder was about to strike him, they were delighted and delighted. In an instant, the following scene appeared in their mind. The elder slapped him until he spat out fresh blood. Then, he stepped on his face and hollered in rage. Scram! What? No. Some of the disciples imagined those scenes and instantly, they reached their peak. When the elder saw that Lin Fan didn't do anything, he was delighted. It seemed like he had thought too much. Lin Fan might have been strong, but he was definitely no match for him. Now that he attacked, Lin Fan was stunned and didn't react at all. Suddenly, pung! A person flew backward like a cannonball and smashed into a building in the distance. The elder who attacked Lin Fan was stuck in the ruins. His limbs went soft and his eyes rolled back. What was going on? What happened? No one knew what happened. The elder was about to suppress Lin Fan, but why did it suddenly change? Lin Fan flicked his clothes and said calmly, Don't not cherish the chance I gave you. I just don't want to attack the weak, but if you don't know what is good for you, I won't hold back. Don't worry, I don't fish and I don't act cool. I will let you experience it. If you think that you have the ability to fight me, then you can try. The moment he said this, the aura in the space became terrifying. Lin Fan stood there, but a shocking aura spread out. Gotcha! The space shook and dimension appeared. The ground cracked once more. Many buildings couldn't take it and collapsed right away. To the Great Tribulation Temple people, they were astonished. It was extremely terrifying. Chapter 492. Lin Fan wasn't someone who liked to show off. He just needed to release his own aura. He was afraid that if he was not careful, he would crush the Great Tribulation Temple members to death. If they were really crushed to death then, wouldn't all his rage points go to waste? Young Master Lin is so strong. Sword Head exclaimed. In the past, he had seen many geniuses but he looked at them as seniors and encouraged them. But facing young Master Lin, he treated them as equals. Even if they were much older than young Master Lin, they were treated as equals. Zhao Lishan said, Young Master Lin is so young and your strength has reached such a level. That is just unbelievable and there isn't a second person in the world. The key is that a few months ago, young Master Lin wasn't even at Dao Realm and wasn't even at Domain Realm. Now you are at Dao Realm Stage 3 and your true combat strength exceeds that. Amazing, this is just too amazing. When the divinator heard their conversation, he didn't think much of it at the start. He just felt that the two of them were making a huge fuss. Wasn't it normal for sect leader Lin to be so strong? What was there to be surprised about? But when he heard the latter part of the story, the situation changed. What? The divinator was shocked like he had seen a ghost. Damn. Are you serious? Sect leader Lin wasn't even at Dao Realm a few months ago and now, he is at Dao Realm Stage 3. Aren't you mistaken about one thing? The time needed to raise one Dao Realm stage wasn't so simple. He had never heard of one stage a year. He hadn't heard of one stage 2 years. Now, he was telling him that he crossed several realms in a few months. Moreover, there was an uncrossable gap between domain realm and Tao realm. Some people would be stuck at that realm for their entire lives. It was basically impossible to break through from domain realm to Tao realm. At that moment, the divinator was stunned. Something that he didn't even dare to think about appeared in his mind. Could it be that those with great luck were all so domineering? Even his cultivation base could increase at an unreasonably fast rate. But that didn't make sense. In the past, the imperial dynasty's luck was really strong. Even if it wasn't as good as sect leader Lin, it should have done something, right? But based on what he knew, he didn't cause much of a commotion. How could he compare to sect leader Lin? The difference between the two was like heaven and earth. At that moment, the people from Great Tribulation Temple felt as if their hearts were being suppressed by a heavy mountain. They couldn't even breathe. The buildings were severely damaged, and countless of them collapsed. The other party hadn't even made a move yet, but his aura was already so ferocious. The Great Tribulation Temple elders looked at Lin Fan in terror. Unknowingly, they were drenched in sweat. As for the normal disciples, they couldn't maintain their previous posture. He was crushed to the ground by Lin Fan's aura, just like a dead dog. As for the Great Tribulation Temple's sect leader, needless to say, he was completely stunned. If he hadn't experienced it for himself, he wouldn't have believed it. But now, after experiencing it for himself, he completely understood how big the gap between them was. How is it? Lin Fan asked indifferently. Those with slightly better brains would naturally understand how insurmountable the gap between them was. What exactly do you want? Asked the sect leader after a long moment of silence. Lin Fan sighed and felt like he was playing the lute to a cow. He made it really clear before. Why did it feel like there was a hole in their heads? Until now, they still didn't understand? Lin Fan said impatiently. Can't you all open your eyes and look around? Don't you know the situation now? I don't want to repeat myself. Think about it yourselves. What a bully. Some disciples pounded their chests and shouted. Their faces turned red. Rage points increased. As expected, only by killing a bunch of people could rage points increase crazily. He was very satisfied. This was how it should be. To the Great Tribulation Temple sect leader, they couldn't fight. Lin Fan revealed his strength, and that wasn't something they could go up against. They didn't even have the courage to fight him. Sect leader, what should we do? An elder asked with an ugly expression. The sect leader kept silent, and after a long while, he slowly opened his mouth. Do you all have confidence in suppressing him? The elders looked at the sect leader in shock. The light in their eyes seemed to be saying, Sect leader, stop joking. How can we fight like this? We asked you to see what you think. How would we dare to have any thoughts? The sect leader didn't continue to ask. Looking at their expressions, he knew the answer. Naturally, they had no confidence at all. Okay, let's go. Under the threat of absolute power, the sect leader had no choice. Where there was life, there was hope. Sect leader. Sect leader. When everyone heard the sect leader's decision, they were all filled with disbelief. Some disciples were unwilling. Sect leader, we are not afraid of death. Let's fight them. Right, let's fight them. These disciples were young and were hot-blooded. They were rash and would fight if they were unhappy. Who was afraid of who? At the same time, they were extremely confident in the sect leader. They felt that as long as the sect leader was there was nothing that couldn't be solved. The elders looked at those disciples and only had one thought in their hearts. Your lives may be cheap, but our lives are very precious. It wasn't easy for them to cultivate to their current realm. They spent so much time and put in so much hard work. As for normal disciples, how long have they cultivated? If they die, then so be it. Anyway, they would just be like this for the rest of their lives. All of you, shut up. The sect leader hollered in rage. He then looked at Lin Fan, We are not as skilled as them. Great Tribulation Temple deserves a tribulation. Since that is the case, Great Tribulation Temple will disband. All disciples, pack up and prepare to leave. When he said those words, his heart was really dripping blood. Great Tribulation Temple was his blood, sweat, and tears. Now, this fellow who came from who knows where messed it up. Young Master Lin, actually, there is no need to make things so problematic. Zhao Lishan said. They had been here for a period of time and didn't do much. They just watched young Master Lin argue with them. That was a waste of time. If he was the one to solve it, maybe he wouldn't need to waste too much time to solve it all. Lin Fan shook his head. You don't understand. Zhao Lishan had nothing to say. He really didn't understand. If he did, then that would be great. Naturally, Lin Fan wouldn't tell him that he needed rage points. Very quickly, the Great Tribulation Temple disciples packed up. They turned their heads 3 times with each step they took. They looked at the sect that they were about to part with and step onto the path of wandering. They felt really annoyed. Many pairs of furious eyes looked at Lin Fan and gave off a furious glow. They were really furious. They were bullied and didn't even have a chance to fight back. They were really unwilling to accept it. Although they didn't have many rage points, they won in terms of numbers, so it wasn't bad. Sect leader Lin, I will leave Great Tribulation Temple to you. The sect leader looked at Lin Fan and cupped his fist. But no matter how he looked at it, he felt like Lin Fan was really angry. Thinking about it, it was normal. He was bullied to such an extent, so if he acted like nothing was wrong, wouldn't that be too fake? A large group of disciples followed behind the sect leader. Some of them had thought it through. So what if they left for a short while? They were just biding their time. When they were strong in the future, they could just charge back. Lin Fan had a smile on his face. He didn't want to kill these people. They were too young and had a long road ahead of them. If they were too weak, then the rage points would be too little. This was why he liked to raise fish and raise them until they grew bigger. In the future, he would be able to use them again. So, now, unless he really had to kill them, he wouldn't be ruthless to some people. Okay, I will send all of you off, Lin Fan said. The moment he said this, Lin Fan waved his arm and a dimensional tunnel appeared in the air. When the sect leader saw this, he was shocked and had a bad feeling. What do you mean? Lin Fan said, it is too obvious if so many of you leave together. For your safety, I will help all of you. Let's go. To the surrounding disciples, they felt like their bodies were uncontrollably flying into the dimensional tunnel. They screamed. They were swallowed up by the tunnel. As for where they went, Lin Fan didn't know. Maybe they were at the ends of the world. You bastard! The sect leader was furious. If he split the disciples up, then he would be destroying the foundations of Great Tribulation Temple. Who knew if he was blinded by rage, but he actually slashed towards Lin Fan viciously. Pung! Lin Fan raised his palm and with a light slap, he slapped him into the dimensional tunnel. You thief, I won't let you off, the sect leader hollered. Slowly, his voice disappeared. Everything returned to normal like nothing had happened at all. Have a good trip. Live well with your hatred towards me. Lin Fan waved his hand and then looked at the empty Great Tribulation Temple. Next, I will continue to search for factions in the area. With the current situation, I might attract attention in just a short while. Things developed a little too quickly. The key was that Lin Fan's methods were violent. As long as he faced a faction, he would chase them away. This caused everyone to be filled with rage and leave their homes. The Great Tribulation Temple sect leader traveled through the dimensional tunnel. He didn't dare to touch or move as he was afraid that the surrounding dimensional power would rip him to shreds. There was a light in front. He felt his body become light and the scenes in front of him made him feel lost. Where is this? People walked around and many pairs of eyes stared at him. He thought that he was a Great Tribulation Temple disciple, but when he looked closely, he realized that he wasn't. Who dares to come to Nine Demon Hall? A voice that struck the depths of his soul was transmitted. To him, he felt like a small boat that could capsize at any time in the turbulent wave. Expert. That was the voice of an expert. Damned guy, where did you send me to? Even if it was a place with few people, why did you send me to such a dangerous place? A person walked over. In the eyes of the Great Tribulation Temple sect leader, it was like an endless blood ocean surging towards him. Pata. The Great Tribulation Temple sect leader sat on the ground paralyzed. His body turned cold. He was finished. Chapter 493. A few days later. That night. Within the room. As expected, only hard work will give me rewards. Although I have the small support system, I have never been a lazy person. I have my current achievements step by step. Lin Fan didn't study much and didn't know what the word shameless meant. Rage points. 2215484. Not only did the Great Tribulation Temple provide 2 million rage points, but many other small factions also provided a lot. Although during this period of time, he was more overbearing and caused many people to lose their homes. But he had no choice. Forget it, he didn't think so much and just focused on improving his cultivation technique. Internal and external cultivation, Tao Essence and Tao Body both reached stage 3. His cultivation technique was slowly used up, but it was still enough to improve. Consumed 10,000 rage points. Heaven End Basics. To raise a Tao realm cultivation technique, to return to true, required 210,000. It was so good to have the small support system. If he cultivated it himself, to raise a Tao realm cultivation technique to the highest realm, the time needed wouldn't be so simple. Forming Tao patterns. Now, he had 97 Tao patterns. In Tao realm stage 3, he was really overpowered. There was no one who could form 97 Tao patterns at Tao realm stage 3. With the small support system, all of that wasn't a problem. Martial Path Mountain. Sword Head said, Brother Zhao, young Master Lin has developed too quickly and chased away many factions. Maybe in just a short time, the 4 alliances will notice the situation here. Zhao Lishan nodded and a worried expression appeared on his face. That is indeed the case. It is okay if normal sects notice, but what I am afraid of is the top sects noticing. In terms of peak combat strength, they were much weaker. He had mentioned this to young Master Lin before, but young Master Lin was really casual about it. It was obvious that he didn't care much about it. He admitted that young Master Lin was really strong. But compared to peak experts, the gap was huge. Let's ask the divinator. Sword Head said. The two of them went to search for one another. In the end, they found traces of the divinator on a mountain peak. He stood there and looked towards Martial Path Mountain, looking at everything that happened there. There was no change in his expression, but there was a hint of worry between his brows. I heard that the divinator can seek luck and avoid calamity. What do you think Martial Path Mountain will do in the future? Sword Head and Zhao Lishan appeared on the mountain peak, and Sword Head asked directly. Zhao Lishan didn't know the divinator and was a little suspicious. Are there really people in this world who can tell good from bad? Why does it feel so surreal? The divinator turned his head and said, Calamity, huge calamity. Martial Path Mountain is in trouble and someone has to die. If Zhang Tianshan heard what the divinator said, he would definitely beat him up. What the hell was he talking about? At the same time, he understood why he was in such a bad state. Although he knew how to brag, he didn't do it well. This was a deep look of disdain from a bronze-level expert towards a king-level expert. At that moment, the divinator wanted to leave, but suddenly, he stopped. His expression changed and his eyes were filled with shock. He blurted out, How is that possible? Sword Head saw the change in the divinator's expression and didn't know what had happened. He asked curiously, What happened? The divinator didn't reply to Swordhead's question. He looked towards Marshall Path Mountain. It changed. Suddenly it changed. To the divinator, Marshall Path Mountain, which was filled with luck, suddenly had a sense of danger. But just as he was about to leave, he realized that there was a shocking change in Marshall Path Mountain. It's gone. The danger has actually disappeared and the luck has become even thicker. How is that possible? He muttered to himself. This was an insult to his 100 years of experience. When Swordhead heard what the divinator said, he heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed like the danger had disappeared. That was good. As long as there was no danger, it was fine. Zhao Lishan giggled. He said that there was danger and then he said that there was no danger at all. His words were like farts. He instantly lost interest. He left right away. Within the room. 10 more Tao patterns. I have finally reached Tao Realm Stage 4. Lin Fan took in a deep breath and felt really good. When his Tao patterns broke 100, he felt a terrifying power boiling in his body. Maybe this was the breaking point. Anyone who wanted to increase the number of Tao patterns to 100 would encounter this obstacle. But to Lin Fan, this wasn't a problem at all. With the small support system, as long as you had enough rage points, you wouldn't need to worry about too much and you would be able to instantly raise them. Tao Realm Stage 4 Astronomical Phenomenon. It was a true mystique and secret technique, and he was a dual cultivator. He really did not know how powerful the lawful embodiment of heaven and earth would be. To him, cultivation was just so simple. He could fight with those strongest 9-star generals or the true experts of the top sections. He pushed the door open. Go Z, I am hungry, Lin Fan said. He didn't show too much excitement. So be it if his cultivation increased. Actually, there was nothing to be happy about. He was used to it. If he acted excited each time he improved, then after a year, he would be so excited that his heart wouldn't be able to take it. Go Z, who was on standby, ran towards the kitchen. There were many people on Marshall Path Mountain. Naturally, he wouldn't prepare food for everyone. Other people's food would be passed to other disciples. Lin Fan chose a purple faith line. That was definitely Cousins. Power transfer. Using the power of faith, Cousins' cultivation reached Tao Realm Stage 3. Great Tribulation Temple Sect leader landed in 9 Evil Spirit Hall's territory. He wasn't from the 4 alliances, but if he fell into the hands of Evil Alliance, he would definitely end up in a tragic state. For some reason, he thought about the humiliation he suffered and started to cry. 9 Evil Spirit Hall didn't even attack and he cried. This made Evil Spirit Old Ancestor think back to himself. He had faced such a sad matter. Perhaps it was because of the same experience. Thus, Evil Spirit Old Ancestor didn't do anything to him. He gave him a chance to cry. If it was unimportant, then it wouldn't be too late to kill the other party. Great Tribulation Temple Sect leader couldn't stop talking about his experiences. Someone came and chased all of them away. He even sent their disciples away through the dimension tunnel, and they didn't know where they were. At the start, he didn't feel anything. But slowly, the situation became a little off. Evil Spirit Old Ancestor recalled something. That feeling, that situation was really familiar. He asked him whether or not that person was called Lin Fan. Great Tribulation Temple Sect leader shook his head and said that he didn't know his name. He just said that his surname was Lin and he called himself Sect Leader Lin. The moment he heard that his surname was Lin, Evil Spirit Old Ancestor raised his head and his tears flowed down uncontrollably. When the surrounding disciples saw Evil Spirit Old Ancestor's expression, they were so frightened that they didn't dare to say a word. What was going on? What was going on with Evil Spirit Old Ancestor? Why did he have such an expression? Did something happen? Not only were the disciples stunned, but even the Great Tribulation Temple Sect leader was stunned. Are you crazy? I am talking about my tragic experience, so why are you crying? Suddenly, ha ha ha! Evil spirit old ancestor laughed out loud. A vicious glow appeared in his eyes. I have finally found you. Shortly after, evil spirit old ancestor lowered his head and looked at the Great Tribulation Temple sect leader. His face was dark and sunken. Tell me where he is. Great Tribulation Temple sect leader was stunned. He only had one thought in his heart. That was that the expert in front of him had a grudge with that person. Chapter 494. What made Go Z happiest was personally witnessing young master destroy all the things he made. Moreover, he was still reminiscing about it. Cultivation wasn't important to Go Z. As long as he could make good food for young master, that was the happiest thing. As for cultivation, it was still okay. He could find all sorts of rare ingredients for young master. Go Z, this dish is not bad. I have never seen it before. He used his chopsticks to pick up a golden mushroom. There was still some soup on it and it looked really delicious. Young master, I found this when I was searching for ingredients in the mountains. I don't need to add any ingredients and it tastes really delicious. It melts in the mouth. Lin Fan acknowledged. He had high hopes for Go Z's talent in finding ingredient. As for Zhang Tianshan and the others, they could only watch. Even if they drooled all over the ground, they wouldn't be able to eat it. As for Nine Demon, he felt really comfortable. He squatted beside Lin Fan's feet like a puppy. He raised his 9 heads and wagged his tail. Occasionally, he would take a bite. Not long later. Young master, what is wrong? Go Z saw that young master was stunned and thought that there was something wrong with the food. Zhang Tianshan and the others took a look and stopped paying attention. What an overbearing fellow. No matter what, he was the deputy sect leader, so he had to be treated better. Lin Fan kept silent for a moment and shook his head. Nothing, I just feel like something is about to happen. Go Z felt that young master was under a lot of pressure, which was why he had such thoughts. It seemed like he had to make some soup for young master to heal up his body and also relieve his mental pressure. In the distance, since the Great Tribulation Temple sect leader knew that evil spirit old ancestor was enemies with the person who chased them out of the sect, he became more active. As long as Lin Fan asked, he would tell him everything he knew. With his own strength, he couldn't beat him at all. This was why letting an expert attack was the wisest choice. Evil spirit old ancestor, is that person really there? This time, not only was evil spirit old ancestor working alone, but he also gathered many people. One of them was the heaven-covering demon sect leader. Lin Fan went to their sect to provoke them and caused hatred. Thus, after evil spirit old ancestor confirmed Lin Fan's location, he headed to heaven-covering demon sect right away to inform them. How could they take the humiliation they suffered? So, it was the same as he thought. Heaven-covering demon sect leader personally came out and said that he was going to grind his bones to dust and smash him into meat paste. His methods were really cruel. When Great Tribulation Temple sect leader heard this, he felt really good. At the same time, in the face of these experts who were once unreachable, he put down his pride and willingly acted as a bootlicker. He only hoped to leave a good impression in the other party's eyes. Everyone, this person is Lin Wani's son. Even though his cultivation base isn't at the peak, it is still shocking. To be able to reach this realm at such a young age, if we allow him to continue developing, he will be a disaster for us. And now I can clearly tell you that it's right there. There's no mistaking it. Evil spirit old ancestor had been suppressing his anger for a long time. The blood lotus was the flesh of his heart. Ever since he lost the blood lotus, he thought about it day and night. He was always in a daze, and when he thought of the pain, he would secretly cry. He knew his place. He had fought with Lin Fan before and he wasn't his opponent. Therefore, he found an expert. Now, there were many of them. Of course, the strongest one was the heaven-covering demon sect leader, who was at stage 7. This kid came to heaven-covering demon sect to cause trouble and humiliated my kid. He deserves to be killed. Heaven-covering demon sect leader's face was dark and sunken. A fierce glow shone in his eyes. Great Tribulation Temple sect leader agreed. He does deserve to die. But the moment he said this, Lin Fan's gaze caused his body to turn cold. He shivered and didn't have any thoughts at all. To the Great Tribulation Temple sect leader, he felt like he was innocent. He was a victim, so couldn't he be more friendly to him? If one was weak, one had no rights at all. Let's go, I can't wait to see that kid's tragic end. Evil Spirit Old Ancestor was so furious with Lin Fan that he didn't want to waste any more time. Martial Path Mountain. The divinator's eyelids jump. Weird, why is my eyelid twitching so quickly? He rubbed his eyes, feeling a little flustered. Could it be that something is about to happen? Suddenly, the divinator raised his head and looked into the distance. He sensed a few shocking auras moving quickly, and they were heading towards Martial Path Mountain. Was it Honglong? The space around exploded. Several people appeared in the sky above Martial Path Mountain. The aura that they gave off was really terrifying, and even the space around them was shattered. Lin Fan, scram out. Evil Spirit Old Ancestor hollered in rage. His voice was like thunder that buzzed. Instantly, a light barrier covered Martial Path Mountain, and several places around shone brightly. These were the formations that Zhang Tianshan laid out. When they sensed attacks, they would automatically activate to defend. Although this was just a casual holler from Evil Spirit Old Ancestor, it was filled with rage. The first barrier was broken. Shortly after, the second barrier shone and blocked Evil Spirit Old Ancestor's shout. They are killing their way to our doorstep. The divinator was astonished. He knew that Martial Path Mountain would be in danger. So, he wasn't wrong and there really was. But didn't they say that everything was fine? How did this happen? The divinator started to doubt himself. Did his standards drop and he really see wrongly? Sword Head and Zhao Lishan rose into the air and looked at the few people in the distance. It is the heaven-covering demon sect leader. Sword Head saw him right away because heaven-covering demon sect was really strong. They were even stronger than Sword Palace. After all, his cultivation was at Dao Realm Stage 7. Even the top sects had a gap. Some top sects only had Dao Realm Stage 5 or 6, but some had Dao Realm Stage 7. Before Evil Spirit Old Ancestor saw Lin Fan, he definitely wouldn't stop. Lin Fan, scram out to die. Evil Spirit Old Ancestor had an explosive temper. He felt like he was someone who had been conned, and the rage in his heart was caused by Lin Fan. Martial Path Mountain. Lin Fan laid there and enjoyed the happiness of life. Right as he was about to rest, he was shocked by a loud voice. Who is so bold to actually fight their way to our doorstep? Lin Fan got up. Go Zi was unhappy. Young master, let me deal with them. You are no match for them. What a joke. If he let Go Zi face them, then he would have to collect Go Zi's corpse. Evil Spirit Old Ancestor was still shouting like he wasn't going to stop until he saw Lin Fan. Sword Head and Zhao Lishan didn't dare to attack. Sword Head was the one who told Zhao Lishan that this was the heaven-covering demon sect leader. He was at Dao Realm Stage 7 and was much stronger than them. Even if the two of them worked together, they would be crushed. Evil Spirit Old Ancestor saw that Lin Fan didn't come out and was furious once more. Lin Fan, if you don't scram out, then I will wipe out your mountain. The moment he said this, a voice spread out from below. Okay, why are you shouting? Lin Fan walked out impatiently. When he saw Evil Spirit Old Ancestor, he was stunned. So, it is you. It seems like I didn't give you a deep impression last time. You. Evil Spirit Old Ancestor was so furious that flames shot out from his body. The hand that was pointing at Lin Fan was so furious that it was trembling. Good, you are stubborn. Let's see how you are going to do that today. Evil Spirit Old Ancestor was really confident because the people who came were all expert. Especially the heaven-covering demon sect leader. He was a Tao Realm Stage 7 expert. Oh, so you are all familiar people. Great Tribulation Temple sect leader, you really are smart. You knew that you couldn't do it, so you went to find helpers. You even found Evil Alliance. Not bad at all. Lin Fan understood the situation right away. Apart from him, who else could it be? If it was a while ago, it would have been really problematic to face these people, and he would have even had to pay a price. But now, he didn't fear anything. So what if they were Tao Realm Stage 7 experts? Move aside. Just at that moment, heaven-covering demon sect leader didn't say any nonsense. He held the celestial slaying spear and his aura exploded. He then slashed towards Lin Fan. His attacks were vicious and his aura was really strong. Young Master Lin, let me. Zhao Lishan exclaimed and wanted to block that move for young Master Lin. After all, he was a Tao Realm Stage 7 expert and young Master Lin was only at Tao Realm Stage 3, so how could he fight him? But shortly after, something that he didn't expect happened. Lin Fan disappeared from the spot and appeared in the distance. He clenched his fingers and punched towards the celestial slaying spear. You overestimate yourself. Heaven-covering demon sect leader scoffed coldly. He was actually so dumb to fight him head-on. Was there something wrong with his head? But shortly after, a shocking change occurred. Peng! Hong Long! The two powers clashed with one another and a bright light exploded. At the same time, a terrifying shockwave spread out. The shockwave was really strong. It caused the sky to split open. Zhang Tianshan's usefulness was totally used at that moment. The formation that he laid out started to shine and heat up, forming many circles of light to block the shockwave. How is that possible? Heaven-covering demon sect leader was astonished. The moment they clashed, he sensed that the power that Lin Fan used was really shocking. It didn't look like something that someone at Tao Realm Stage 3 could do. Maybe he didn't know that Lin Fan was already at Tao Realm Stage 4. When he really exploded out, he could use the strength of someone at Tao Realm Stage 7. This evil spirit old ancestor shouted the fiercest. But when he saw Lin Fan and the heaven-covering demon sect leader fight, he was totally stunned. Damn. When did this kid become so terrifying? Not only was he stunned, but so was everyone else. Zhao Lishan and Sword Head looked at one another. They only had one thought in their hearts. Had young Master Lin's strength reached such a terrifying level? Lin Fan clenched his fists. That feeling just now felt so good. Chapter 495. Still okay. Dual cultivation, Tao essence and Tao body reaching Tao realm stage 4. This was something that no one had ever done in the past and no one would be able to do. How did this fellow become so strong? Evil spirit old ancestor felt like he was totally blind. If he hadn't personally witnessed it, he wouldn't have dared to believe it. The last time they had a conflict, he was just SOSO. But now, he was actually able to fight against the heaven-covering demon sect leader, who was at Tao Realm Stage 7. Lin Fan floated in the air. 9 Demon turned into a streak of light and squatted on Lin Fan's shoulder. What are all of you thinking? But forget it, since you are all here, then let's have a good fight. After dealing with all of you, it is time for me to conquer the world. You and you, all of you, be careful. If your sect is in my territory, you will be chased away. Lin Fan's words caused the Great Tribulation Temple sect leader to feel really conflicted. He thought back to his own experience and it was just so tragic and unbearable. Lin Fan, the few seniors are here and you still dare to be arrogant. You are so evil and you will definitely pay a heavy price. Great Tribulation Temple sect leader hollered in rage. With a few experts here, What was there for him to be afraid of? Naturally, he used their strength to show that he was fearless as the Great Tribulation Temple sect leader. He was going to fight them head-on. Instantly, he was terrified by Lin Fan's gaze. His face turned white and cold sweat dripped down from his forehead. His heart was beating fast. He gathered his courage. What kind of gaze is that? Did I say anything wrong? The few seniors are going to help the heavens and kill you. Great Tribulation Temple sect leader panicked from Lin Fan's gaze, but he forced himself to calm down and scolded. Evil spirit old ancestor frowned. It wasn't that the Great Tribulation Temple sect leader was annoyed, but the kid was just too arrogant. Even at such a time, he was still annoyed. Young Master Lin, Sword Head and I will help you. Zhao Lishan's expression was solemn. Although they weren't as strong as the Alliance's strongest, they weren't weak either. Although young Master Lin was strong, it would be tough for him to fight one against many. Lin Fan waved his hands. No need, leave it to me. They know that I am on Martial Path Mountain and still dare to cause trouble. That only means that they are confident. I won't back down from such provocations. Ever since his strength had increased, even his words had become much more forceful. If it was in the past, even though he would have said a few words, he wouldn't have been so unyielding. The Martial Path Mountain disciples had never seen their sect leader fight an enemy. Right now, they were facing a very strong enemy. But our sect leader's words were so domineering, so shocking. The blood in our bodies was already boiling. Jiuyao, let's fight together. Instantly, 9 demon turned into liquid and merged into Lin Fan's body. Buzz. The power was burning and expanding, causing the surrounding void to tremble. Poochie. Lin Fan could feel that the power within his body had been dormant for a long time now, as though it could not wait to burst forth. The third form of insect transformation. 9 Demon's power was further released. The muscles on his back twitched as if something was about to break out of his body. Poochie. It broke open. A curved blade stretched out from his back. White bone spikes gave off a cold glow. One after another, it made Lin Fan look really vicious. His limbs swelled up and a thin layer of armor appeared beneath his skin. This form should be called the Bug Battle Suit. Hong. The power in his body spread out, forming a shocking shockwave that covered everyone. This power. Evil spirit old ancestor took a step back. He understood that he was no match for Lin Fan. The aura that spread out was just too strong. He could only rely on heaven covering old demon for this battle. Feng Poliu, who was in Martial Path Mountain, raised his head and had a weird expression on his face. Lin Fan and 9 demons' chemistry had reached a level that even he couldn't understand. If people from Insect Valley saw these scenes, maybe they would be as shocked as him. Lin Fan looked at them. Now, come on. I think all of you have waited for a long time, so let's not talk any nonsense. It is just a waste of time. The moment he said this, there was a pung. Lin Fan instantly disappeared from the spot like he had disappeared into thin air. Where is he? Demon refining old ancestor was shocked. Lin Fan was so quick that even he couldn't find any traces of him. He was at Dao Realm Stage 5 and he felt that he wasn't weak. He was an old ancestor in Evil Alliance. This time, Evil Spirit Old Ancestor dragged him over to deal with this Dao Realm Stage 3 kid. He felt like he was making a mountain out of a molehill, but now he felt like he was making a mountain out of a molehill. Suddenly, Demon Refining Old Ancestor's body turned cold. This was the feeling that one would have when danger arrived. Not good. The Demon Refinement Ancestor roared and retreated quickly, smashing through one dimension after another. Shortly after, the space around him trembled and illusory faces appeared in all directions. They inhaled and sealed the space around them. He could only do that to protect himself in the middle. As long as Lin Fan stepped in, no matter how fast he would be able to see where he was. But at that moment, the situation wasn't right. With Akacha, The illusionary face shattered and his hair stood on their ends. A cold glow struck him. Lin Fan didn't sneak attack and instead attacked him head-on. Jerk, do you really think that I am easy to bully? Demon Refining Old Ancestor hollered in rage. He grabbed towards Lin Fan with his heaven and earth demon hand. His aura was extraordinary and it felt like the entire area was under his control. Dao Realm Stage 5 was really strong. Even in the four alliances, he was an expert amongst experts. In the top sects, he was a peak existence. Shwa. Shwa. One cold glow, two cold glows, and then they intersected to form a giant net. In the blink of an eye, everything became calm once more. Lin Fan appeared. He didn't look at Demon Refining Old Ancestor, but at Heaven Covering Old Demon. Don't you think that you are stupid to come to find trouble with me without understanding the situation? At that moment, Demon Refining Old Ancestor lowered his head and looked at his body. There was nothing wrong with him, and joy appeared on his face. He hollered in rage, "Kid, what is the meaning of this? This is your gotcha." Before he finished, many wounds appeared on Demon Refining Old Ancestor's body. The cracks became bigger and with a scream, Demon Refining Old Ancestor was split into hundreds of pieces. It would probably take a long time to piece them together into a complete body. Uproar. How did this happen? Evil Spirit Old Ancestor's face was ashen white. He didn't dare to believe what he was seeing. Demon Refining Old Ancestor, who was at Dao Realm Stage 5, actually died just like that. Impossible, that was definitely impossible. How could the difference in strength be so terrifying? Even if he wanted to kill Demon Refining Old Ancestor, he would need to use some methods. Lin Fan's arm shook and a white bone blade appeared from his joints. He then retracted it into his body like nothing had happened at all. Great Tribulation Temple Sect leader nearly fell to the ground. His body was covered in a cold sweat. When he saw such a terrifying scene, he was really unable to keep calm. How was this kid so strong? That fellow was at Dao Realm Stage 5. Did he even know what Stage 5 meant? That was a realm that many people wanted to reach but were unable to reach in their entire lives. Now he was killed so easily. That was just too unbelievable. Who lives and who dies will depend on the heavens. I am here. Lin Fan turned into a streak of light and headed towards Heaven Covering Old Demon. He wanted to see the gap between him and Heaven Covering Old Demon. Of course. He believed that with his own strength, there shouldn't be any difference. Zhao Lishan was stunned. Young Master Lin has become stronger. Naturally, Zhu Xin was the most shocked. He had seen young Master Lin's strength jump. During the U City battle, young Master Lin wasn't so strong. In just a few months he actually reached such a level. If Master Lin knew about this, who knew what he would think? Divergent, this was definitely a divergent. No one in the world could raise their cultivation so quickly. That was just impossible. For some reason, Zhu Xun had a bold idea in his heart. That young Master Lin might really be able to suppress all unstable factors in the world alone. Aya, how could I have such a daring idea? This is something impossible in the past, okay? Honglong. Heaven and earth shook. It was as if someone had swallowed medicine and the energy currents became really violent. The shockwaves from Lin Fan and Heaven Covering Old Demon's battle were just terrifying. Each time the two of them clashed, it would cause an intense tremor. Not bad, no wonder you dare to cause trouble in Martial Path Mountain. Lin Fan's power surged forwards like a flood. Each fist, each palm caused the surrounding space to shatter. At the same time, a sharp blade would pierce forwards. Heaven Covering Old Demon wasn't easy to deal with either. He was shocked by Lin Fan's strength. He was so young but he was so strong. Were the people from the four alliances fools? They actually allowed such a potential danger to become a true danger. When Lin Fan and Heaven Covering Old Demon fought, He didn't forget about evil spirit old ancestor. Everyone had a share and he couldn't just take care of one person. Evil spirit old ancestor's face turned white. He faced death several times, but each time he was safe. The first time, he thought that he was strong enough, but he realized that that wasn't the case. That was because each time Lin Fan left injuries on his body, he would smile in disdain. Evil spirit old ancestor lowered his head and looked at the wound on his chest. Just as the kid appeared in front of him and punched him, in the blink of an eye, a sharp blade stretched out from his arm and sliced his chest. The pain caused him to wake up. He knew that Lin Fan didn't want to kill him. Otherwise, he would have been sliced into two. When one reached Tao Realm Stage 6, one would have an undying body and wouldn't die so easily. But if Lin Fan wanted to kill him, it wouldn't be difficult at all. How did this happen? He didn't have such a feeling a while ago. Chapter 496. Heaven covering old demon's expression was really solemn. The celestial slaying spear in his hand was really fierce. The tip of the spear pointed into the air, and many ripples spread out. The sky couldn't handle such strength, and it was on the verge of being destroyed. The situation between Lin Fan and Heaven covering old demon was currently on the same level. But for some reason, Lin Fan felt that if he had time, he would be able to suppress Heaven covering old demon. He relied on the unlimited power of the small support system. If he continued to fight without any losses, who could take it? Lin Fan was probably the only one who could endure it. Astronomical phenomenon. Lin Fan hollered. After reaching Tao Realm Stage 4 and having the ability of Stage 4, he really wanted to try it out. Hong Long. The sky shook and a shocking power drew the area. Lightning surged in the sky and each bolt was as thick as a thigh. They were like many lightning dragons. Gotcha! The ground shattered and it couldn't handle Lin Fan's strength at all. Instantly, with Lin Fan at the center, a strong storm exploded. Lin Fan's body continued to grow taller. 100 feet, 1,000 feet, 10,000 feet, 100,000 feet. Very quickly, his entire upper body was in the clouds. He was so tall that one couldn't even look up to him. Normal Tao Realm Stage 4 people could only reach 1,000 feet when they used astronomical phenomenon. When one's strength reached the first stage, it was normal for one to reach 100,000 feet. Terrifying. Zhao Lishan and the others raised their heads and looked. Maybe they would never forget this scene. Young Master Lin was just too strong, so strong that it sent chills down their spines. Come, the battle has just begun. Lin Fan opened his mouth. His voice was really loud and it spread throughout the area. He raised his leg and landed. Hong Long. The ground cracked and was instantly destroyed. A strong shockwave spread out and destroyed everything around. Pung pung. Evil spirit old ancestor's robe swelled up and his long hair danced in the wind. His face was filled with terror and he was totally stunned. He didn't know what to do. Lin Fan clenched his fingers into a fist and punched out at the ground. Even before his fist had reached the ground, the winds and clouds in the world were stirred up into a frenzy, turning into a devastating storm. Hong Long. The fist landed and the ground split apart, forming a bottomless hole. Magma exploded from the ground like the fist had pierced through the earth's core. Pung! Bang! Evil spirit old ancestor didn't touch the fist, but the power that exploded out was like a hammer that smashed into their bodies. Damn it, how did it become like this? He was extremely indignant in his heart. This should not be the case. But the current situation made him unable to resist. How could he improve so quickly? This was simply impossible. A world-shaking power. Ordinary people are unable to contend against it, Zhao Lishan said. He was deeply shocked by the strength that Lin Fan had displayed. At this moment, Heaven-covering old demon and the others used their lawful embodiment of heaven and earth, and their bodies turned to the same size as Lin Fan. Lin Fan's body grew bigger, but his speed wasn't slow at all. Striding forward, he smashed through everything, causing the void to explode and shatter into pieces. Watch my fist. If someone once said, "Have you ever seen a fist as big as a mountain?" he would definitely be scolded angrily. Was there something wrong with his brain? How could he have such a fist? But now all of this had really happened. The difference between heaven-covering old demon and Lin Fan, in terms of physical body cultivation, was like the difference between heaven and earth. There was no comparison at all. Pung! An intense clash occurred between the two of them. Heaven and earth split apart and the sky shattered. Everything in the surroundings was annihilated by the terrifying power. Great Tribulation Temple sect leader started to doubt himself. Why did he have to return? Why was he so terrifying? As time went on, the battle became more and more intense. The battle between Lin Fan and Heaven-covering old demon wasn't something that they could interfere in. To Heaven-covering old demon, he felt really bad. He wasn't able to take down this kid, and they were even on the same level. To him, this was an insult. Just thinking about it made his heart feel like it was about to explode. Poochie. Heaven-covering old demon had many deep wounds on his body. Fresh blood flowed down like a waterfall. But very quickly, the wounds healed and there weren't even any marks left. Damn kid. He knew the kid's cultivation. Dao Realm Stage 4, but he had the aura of someone at Dao Realm Stage 7. At the same time, he felt a chill down his spine. If this kid continued to develop, the outcome would be catastrophic. One day, he would become an uncontrollable existence. Shwa. At that moment, the heaven and earth roared. Time seemed to have stopped and everything became really silent. When Lin Fan sensed that, he was shocked and actually felt a sense of danger. Clang! Heaven-covering old demon held the celestial slaying spear and his aura surged. At the same time, it turned physical and the power of heaven and earth gathered onto the spear. At the same time, many Dao patterns spread out from his body and wrapped around one another. Each Dao pattern represented a combat technique, and at that moment, all of them were gathered together. It was as if someone had brought them together. Dao Realm Stage 7, Dao returned to 1. Shortly after, heaven-covering old demon moved. He wasn't fast, but he wasn't slow either. Celestial slaying spear broke through space and time. There weren't any fancy techniques, and it was just a simple move. It became faster and faster. In the end, the celestial slaying spear turned into a streak of light and struck. Lin Fan felt a terrifying suppressive power strike him. The surrounding space was locked down and the celestial slaying spear got closer and closer. In the blink of an eye, it was right in front of him. Hong Long. A bright light covered the sky and a circular blade spread out. The wind exploded, and it felt like the space was being sliced into two. He should be dead, right? Evil spirit old ancestor was stunned. Heaven-covering old demon's move could be said to have surpassed everything. If God blocked him, he would kill him. Who could block it? But he wasn't too sure. To him, Lin Fan shouldn't have existed. He was someone that one couldn't understand and no one knew what the outcome would be. Suddenly, Lin Fan's voice spread out from the light. Very strong. Evil spirit old ancestor's expression changed. How was that possible? Not only was evil spirit old ancestor filled with disbelief, but even heaven-covering old demon didn't dare to believe it. Even if his spear couldn't kill Lin Fan, it definitely wasn't something that could be easily blocked. The light dissipated. Lin Fan's body appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Lin Fan used his palm as a shield to block the strike. But the price he paid was that his palm was pierced. To Lin Fan, this move was tough to block and it was impossible to dodge. The damage that he would have to take would be unknown, so it was best if he pierced his palm. Of course, more importantly, he had to fight him in close combat. Heaven-covering old demon frowned. He shook his wrist and the celestial slaying spear spun crazily. It formed a terrifying spinning force and wanted to destroy Lin Fan's entire arm. Clang! Lin Fan reached out with his perfect hand and grabbed the celestial slaying spear. He wanted to pull it over. Naturally, heaven-covering old demon wouldn't allow such a thing to happen. He didn't move his hand, but his giant body smashed towards Lin Fan. Good timing. There was a poochie. Lin Fan pulled out his hand that was pierced through and used the blood demon reversal technique to heal himself up. Pata. He grabbed the celestial slaying spear with both hands like he was having a tug of war with heaven-covering old demon. You! Rage appeared on heaven-covering old demon's face. He wanted to retract the celestial slaying spear, but the kid was a little strong and he was actually unable to do so. Naturally, he couldn't let go now. He definitely couldn't let go of the celestial slaying spear, so he could only fight him head-on. Lin Fan felt much better. He had been chased by heaven-covering old demon once and this time, he didn't flee. He was going to fight him head-on and see who was stronger. Kid, let go of me. Heaven-covering old demon raged. This was something that had never happened before. Now that it was happening in front of him, how could he take it? Lin Fan shook his head. I won't let go. Why don't you let go and let me see what your Tao artifact looks like? Maybe when I am sick of it, I will return it to you. What do you think? When heaven-covering old demon heard these words, his face flushed red. Preposterous. He was regretting it now. He allowed this kid to escape in heaven-covering demon sect. If he knew that this would happen, he would have killed this kid to prevent future problems. There was a loud explosion. In terms of strength, heaven-covering old demon wasn't Lin Fan's match at all. His giant body flew towards Lin Fan. Lin Fan hollered. Green veins appeared on his arm, and he punched heaven-covering old demon's face. With a ping, it was as if the world had exploded and there was a terrifying explosion. Heaven-covering old demon flew backward and his giant body fell to the ground, causing the ground to shake. Lin Fan didn't even take a look. He just played with the celestial killing spear in his hand. Your Tao artifact is not bad. It contains some sort of power within. Who created this weapon? I feel like it's impossible, Lin Fan asked. After using the astronomical phenomenon, the celestial killing spear became huge and even sharper and more terrifying. There was a loud explosion. Heaven-covering old demon climbed up with a furious expression. His eyes were bloodshot and he gritted his teeth. Return it to me. Kiki. Lin Fan smiled. Just as he was about to say how was that possible, the celestial killing spear in his hand changed. It disintegrated at a speed that the naked eye couldn't pick up. It turned into many thin ropes that tied Lin Fan up. Then, more ropes pierced Lin Fan's body like they had a mind of their own. There were many of them. They were all bloody holes. Lin Fan was shocked like he didn't expect this. Ha ha ha, heaven-covering old demon laughed. Kid, how can you understand the mysteries of a Tao artifact? Each Tao artifact is born from the heavens and has many uses. If you want to steal my Tao artifact, then let's see whether or not you have the ability. Lin Fan was stunned. He didn't expect things to turn out like this. In the blink of an eye, the celestial killing spear returned to normal and turned into a streak of light that appeared in heaven-covering old demon's hands once more. Lin Fan, on the other hand, looked a little miserable. How is it? Is it painful? With your current state, I think, damn. Heaven-covering old demon shouldn't have said such words, but he had no choice. He had to say it. What did he see? That kid recovered in the blink of an eye. Lin Fan sighed and shook his head. Young people will always be young and will always suffer at the hands of old people like you. But suffering is a blessing and it is normal to suffer. Okay, let's start again. I won't fall for it. Chapter 497. When Lin Fan snatched his celestial slaying spear, heaven-covering old demon was furious, but that was just fake. This was why after the Tao artifact counterattacked, he was really excited. Young people were just young people. They thought that they were strong and dared to do whatever they wanted. That was a price to pay. Even a Tao Realm Stage 7 expert would be badly injured. Even if they relied on the undying body to recover, they would need large amounts of energy and strength, causing them to be in a weak state. That kid was so injured, but he recovered in the blink of an eye. That was unbelievable. Was he even giving him a chance to live? What secret technique is that? Heaven-covering old demon asked. Just now, he felt a sense of familiarity, but it was too mysterious and he didn't know what it was. Lin Fan smiled. Speaking of which, all of you are familiar with it. Xiedao Sec's blood demon reversal technique has a lot to do with your evil alliance. How is that possible? Heaven-covering old demon didn't believe it. How could an outsider obtain Xiedao Sec's secret technique? Moreover, how could he have such ability? If he was so overpowered, would Xiedao Sect still be like this? They would have crushed all the sects in the world. Nothing is impossible. Naturally, Lin Fan knew why heaven-covering old demon didn't believe him. The main reason was that he was just too overpowered. But what could he do? Blood demon reversal technique was a secret technique that couldn't be cultivated to the peak. It was also a technique that was hard to use. Even if someone cultivated it to the 4th stage, it would be tough for them to use it even once. If not for Lin Fan having the small support system that could provide unlimited recovery Tao patterns, he wouldn't have been so confident. Okay, there is no need to think about all these problems. I fell for your tricks and took a small loss, but I won't next. Lin Fan's gaze became solemn and his aura boiled. The destructive strength of the astronomical phenomenon was just too terrifying. This area had long been turned into a deep abyss. Maybe once this ended, he should change a place. Heaven-covering old demon didn't dare to be careless. He didn't underestimate Lin Fan anymore. He treated the kid as someone of the same level. The battle exploded once more. Heaven and earth shook. Evil spirit old ancestor couldn't help at all and could only stare. The other old ancestors who followed him all had the urge to run. But as the battle hadn't ended, they felt like it wasn't good to just run like that. Rumble! Terrifying astral winds blew over, like sharp blades, mercilessly slapping at their bodies. Evil spirit old ancestor didn't expect that he would face such a situation. The battle situation between the two of them was enough to force him to take a step back, not daring to take the initiative to approach. With such strength, even if this old man joins in, I'm afraid that I won't be able to hold on for long. Evil spirit old ancestor was someone who knew his place. He could see more clearly. Time continued to flow. Heaven-covering old demon felt huge pressure. It wasn't that Lin Fan was suppressing him, but that the battle between the two of them consumed too much energy. But looking at that kid's situation, he was full of energy and didn't look like he had been fighting for such a long time. If he had known that Lin Fan had the small support system that gave him unlimited stamina and strength, he probably wouldn't have continued fighting with Lin Fan. It was too tiring and torturous. Rumble! A fierce collision broke out between the two. A bright and dazzling light burst forth. The light enveloped heaven and earth. The space within the range continued to shatter, and the void flowed in reverse like a giant dragon, tearing apart everything nearby. This fellow will never get tired? Heaven-covering old demon panted and beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. With his cultivation, naturally, he wouldn't feel tired from such an intense battle. But the kid in front of him was problematic. Each time he attacked, he used his strongest strength like he was using the strongest strike of a Tao Realm Stage 7 expert. Each time he counterattacked, he could only use his strongest strength to block. At the same time, Lin Fan's physical strength was too terrifying and it restricted him a little. Lin Fan looked at how heaven-covering old demon was panting and smiled. "Old fellow, you feel tired already? The battle has just begun, so don't be too anxious. Kid, don't be too arrogant." Heaven-covering old demon looked at him coldly and thought about how to deal with him. He wanted to use strength to suppress him, but surprisingly, the kid wasn't weak and it was tough for him to take him down. As for evil spirit old ancestor and the others, there was no need to say much. Apart from evil spirit old ancestor, the others didn't have the right to do so. Heaven-covering old demon was filled with regret and felt like he was being used as a tool. Evil spirit old ancestor was the one who suggested this. But now, he was the only one who made the move. The others were still watching from the sidelines. "If we continue, there is a high chance that we will lose." Heaven-covering old demon kept silent and thought about what was going to happen next. Leave this place and not clash with this kid. The moment such a thought appeared in his mind, he was prepared to execute it. As for the others, he didn't care at all. Their lives and deaths didn't have much to do with him. This kid's combat strength could fight against someone at Tao Realm Stage 7, and it would be tough to kill him. He thought that since the kid hadn't comprehended the undying body, there was a high chance that he could kill him. However, after witnessing the secret skill of instant recovery, there was no longer any hope. This was tough. Lin Fan smiled. "Old fellow, you aren't saying anything and aren't doing anything. Are you thinking of running?" Heaven-covering old demon was stunned as he looked at Lin Fan. Damn. This brat could even see this. He really did have the thought of running away. "Kid, do you think that you can continue living? You are someone that everyone in the 4 alliances wants to kill. As long as they know where you are, no one will let you live." Heaven-covering old demon said. Lin Fan smiled. "Is that so? Maybe you're right, and not many people are willing to let me live. But in the current situation, how many people do you think it will take to kill me?" Heaven-covering old demon frowned. What an arrogant fellow. At the same time, heaven-covering old demon confirmed that no matter what, he had to kill this kid. Just as he was thinking about all of this, the situation changed once more. Lin Fan disappeared from the spot. Although his 100,000-foot body disappeared from the spot, his body was too huge, and when he sped through the air, there was a loud explosion. Pung! In the blink of an eye, Lin Fan appeared beside heaven-covering old demon and punched. Under such a situation, skills weren't important anymore. Just his fist alone could smash him into pieces. There was no difference in strength between the two of them. It was tough to say who was stronger. In the blink of an eye, the two terrifying giants exchanged hundreds of blows, exchanging blows with each other, neither of them backing down. Heaven-covering old demon's Tao artifact was really terrifying. This was the first time Lin Fan had faced a true Tao artifact. It was obvious that there was a huge gap between Tao artifacts, and heaven-covering old demon's Tao artifact was slightly stronger. From the few clashes, one could sense how strong it was. It didn't come from him but from the Tao artifact itself. Pung! Just at that moment, the two of them attacked and hammered one another. Lin Fan's fist landed on heaven-covering old demon's body. Naturally, heaven-covering old demon wouldn't just take a beating. Hong Long. Heaven-covering old demon felt his blood boil. This kid's strength was just too terrifying. If not for his strength, just that fist alone would have badly injured him. Evil spirit old ancestor frowned and didn't know what would happen next. He couldn't sit still anymore. No. Even if he couldn't sit still, he didn't dare to move. Suddenly, when he turned his head, he realized that the few old ancestors who followed him had all fled. How did this happen? Even if they couldn't help, heaven-covering old demon was still fighting with Lin Fan and the outcome wasn't decided yet. For them to leave just like that was just too embarrassing. "Where do you want to go?" At this moment, evil spirit old ancestor realized that the Great Tribulation Temple sect leader wanted to run. He chided and stopped him. Senior, the situation is not good. Why don't we leave? Great Tribulation Temple sect leader said. Such a battle was something that he couldn't imagine. It was just too terrifying. It was so terrifying. Moreover, he didn't have high hopes for heaven-covering old demon. If he could suppress him, he wouldn't have dragged on until now. So, the outcome was already predicted. Maybe the senior who was fighting ran faster than anyone else. Why are you leaving? Do you think that we will lose? Evil spirit old ancestor hollered in rage. A fierce glow flashed in his eyes like if he dared to say anything more, he would die. Great Tribulation Temple sect leader panicked. Although he wanted to run, he didn't dare to fight back against evil spirit old ancestor. After all, the person standing in front of him wasn't someone he could offend. If he really pissed him off, the outcome would be catastrophic. Suddenly, leave. Heaven-covering old demon hollered in rage and dashed into the distance. He had decided not to fight head-on with Lin Fan. There was no need for that. With his strength alone, he couldn't do anything to Lin Fan. He had to find someone stronger. Evil spirit old ancestor was stunned. He looked at Lin Fan in rage, and then didn't bother about anything else. He just left. Great Tribulation Temple sect leader was left stunned on the spot. Damn. All of you ran, so what should I do? In that short moment, Great Tribulation Temple sect leader exclaimed. He felt like there was something wrong with his brain. Since everyone was gone, then why was he still here? Naturally, he had to run. But right as he wanted to run, a terrifying aura spread towards him. Don't leave. With a smack, Lin Fan opened his fingers and instantly covered the Great Tribulation Temple sect leader. To the Great Tribulation Temple sect leader, this palm was like a piece of the sky. He lived in this piece of sky and it was tough for him to escape. No, Great Tribulation Temple sect leader panicked and his face was ashen white as he cried out. With a pung, his fingers closed and the Great Tribulation Temple sect leader's body disappeared forever. I gave you a chance but you didn't use it. Lin Fan shook his head and didn't care much about this matter. He shrunk his body and deactivated the bug's battle mode. Everything returned to normal. But the environment around Marshall Path Mountain was too bad. It was destroyed in a battle. Hayes, such a good place was destroyed just like that. What a waste. Chapter 498. He learned a lot from the battle with heaven-covering old demon. It felt good and he didn't feel anything weird. He felt that these old fellows had many tricks up their sleeve. In terms of strength alone, he was confident that he could exceed him. Of course, if the battle dragged on, it wouldn't be hard to suppress him. Young Master Lin, are you okay? Zhao Lishan asked. Sword Head and him were both stunned. That battle was just too terrifying. Dao Realm Stage 7's destructive strength was just so terrifying. Even if Sword Head and him went up, they probably wouldn't be able to hold on for long. I am okay. It is just that this place is badly damaged. It was such a beautiful place in the past, but now it has become like this. What a waste. Lin Fan shook his head. He placed Marshall Path Mountain here because the environment was beautiful. But now that this place was in ruins, it was filled with holes and holes. Zhao Lishan looked into the distance and looked around. Hayes, it is indeed a waste. But there is nothing we can do about it. The ripples from a Dao Realm Stage 7 expert are enough to destroy everything. It is fortunate that Marshall Path Mountain wasn't affected. But what should we do next? It seems like they know where Marshall Path Mountain is, and they definitely won't let this matter rest. Zhao Lishan was a little worried. This time, a Dao Realm Stage 7 expert moved. The situation wasn't good and if several more came, the outcome would be catastrophic. It is okay. Let's find a good place, but it doesn't need to be too far. As for whether or not they will let this matter rest is not important. As long as they dare to come, I will deal with them. Moreover, there aren't many Dao Realm Stage 7 experts. Lin Fan believed that there weren't many Dao Realm Stage 7 experts. If there were, then those sects wouldn't have tolerated the Imperial Dynasty for so long. Sword Head was also the Sword Palace sect leader. Sword Palace was a top sect, but Sword Head wasn't at Dao Realm Stage 7. So, not all the top sects had Dao Realm Stage 7 experts. Zhao Lishan respected young Master Lin's confidence. He didn't even think about what would happen next. The enemies that they offended were really terrifying, and they weren't easy to offend. If they were not careful, they might die. The divinator was so excited that he was about to jump up. So, I wasn't wrong. Sect leader Lin's luck is just too thick. Even if he faced danger, he could solve it instantly. That is just too terrifying. The divinator was knowledgeable, but he had never seen such a situation. So, he decided to follow sect leader Lin and not think about anything else. If he gave up on such a lucky person, then he didn't need to live anymore. This was a rare opportunity. If he missed this chance, there wouldn't be a next time. Therefore, even if he had to kneel down and hug someone's thigh, he had to firmly grasp this opportunity. Oh right, I think the original location of the Great Tribulation Temple is not bad. Let's move there first. These guys ruined the scenery around me. I'll remember this first and make them regret it when I have time. Lin Fan was a little narrow-minded, and had already remembered this matter in his heart. In the distance, evil spirit old ancestor's heart jumped. He didn't dare to think about the blood lotus anymore. It was too King scary. He thought that the kid's strength was at most on par with his. He didn't expect that he would be able to fight evenly with heaven-covering old demon and even force him back. Just thinking about it was terrifying. I am walking further and further on the path of death. Evil spirit old ancestor wanted to toss this hatred to the back of his head and not think about it anymore. Although the blood lotus made his heart hurt, he had to think about his own life. He couldn't lose his life just to take revenge. But he couldn't imagine what Lin Fan relied on to raise his strength to such a realm in such a short time. Did he rely on some shocking treasure? That was obviously impossible. As for talent, that was just nonsense and couldn't be trusted at all. Forget it. He wouldn't think about all that for now. For some reason, when he thought about how heaven-covering old demon was forced back, he wanted to laugh. Maybe the fact that an expert ran away made him feel a little more at ease. No wonder the Alliance headquarters wanted to leak news of this kid and wanted the 4 alliances to kill him. But it was useless now. That kid had totally grown up. Who would be sick enough to fight someone with Dao Realm Stage 7 strength? If they couldn't kill him, the consequences would be unimaginable. After heaven-covering old demon left Martial Path Mountain, his face was dark and sunken. He fought with the kid for a long time and didn't gain any advantage at all. He didn't even do much to the kid. As a Dao Realm Stage 7 expert, he couldn't accept that. He thought about gathering some Stage 7 old demons to head back, but he decided against it. Those Dao Realm Stage 7 old demons were all really cunning. If there weren't any benefits, it was impossible for him to get their help. To him, he would rather work with Celestial Alliance than Evil Alliance. He was afraid that when he was badly injured, the Evil Alliance old demon would suppress him and swallow him. Why do I want to kill him? Heaven-covering old demon thought about it and then thought about his son. But thinking about it, his son was just beaten up and his life wasn't in danger, so why did he have to do that? Forget it. I admit defeat and won't argue with you. But if I have a chance in the future, I will definitely take revenge. Heaven-covering old demon muttered to himself and thought about it for a moment. There was nothing to argue about. Stabilizing himself was the most important thing. During the time he fought with Lin Fan, he understood his situation. He had an instant recovery technique, and no matter how badly injured he was, he would be able to recover instantly. Such an ability was just too terrifying. Moreover, it wasn't a smart thing to offend such an enemy for heaven-covering demon sect. But demon refining old ancestor was really pitiful. He was instantly killed at Tao Realm Stage 5. He was just sending himself to die. If that was possible, then, no, this had nothing to do with him. It should have been evil spirit old ancestor's matter. If demon refining old ancestor wanted to find someone, then they should find evil spirit old ancestor. Some city. The Alliance headquarters worked together with the Imperial Dynasty to suppress the sections. At this moment, Zhu Xiang led the team back, and when he passed by the city, he realized that it was empty. The streets were in a mess like they had just been robbed. "General, what is going on? When we passed by just now, there were a lot of commoners living there." An assistant looked at the situation in front of him and asked in disbelief. Zhu Xiang was expressionless and a weird glow shone in his eyes. He knew what had happened, but he couldn't say it. He didn't expect that His Majesty wouldn't even let the commoners off. This was different from the majesty in his heart. In the past, when His Majesty wanted to rebel, he really thought that His Majesty wanted to. But later on, he realized what the problem was. His Majesty didn't want to rebel but was just acting out a show. But in the end, the show became real. He should have left. "Okay, stop wasting time. Let's return." Zhu Xiang waved his hands and didn't say anything more. Imperial Dynasty was at a disadvantage now. The Alliance headquarters started to be unreasonable. Not only did they need sect territory, but they also needed cities. Even if the Imperial Dynasty wanted to fight back, they had no ability at all. Just the Alliance 9-star generals alone could suppress them so much that they couldn't breathe. To protect themselves, they could only swallow the humiliation and listen to the Alliance headquarters. But that was what he wanted to say. His Majesty had gone overboard this time. A few days later. Great Tribulation Temple original location. Let's just make do with this place. Lin Fan took a look. If he had to choose, he would choose the original place and not this place. But he had no choice. It was already a good thing to have a place, so why would he have so many requests? "Young Master Lin, the Great Tribulation Temple's buildings are not bad. We can keep them," Zhao Lishan said. Lin Fan shook his head. "No, I am not used to using other people's things. It is better to use my own." Moreover, they were all built with real money. The moment he said this, Lin Fan slashed forwards and sliced off the Great Tribulation Temple. He then placed Martial Path Mountain there. He was a person who cared about the past. The buildings on Martial Path Mountain were built with money that he worked hard to earn, so how could he just throw them away? Moreover, Martial Path Mountain had investors. If young Master Huang came to find Martial Path Mountain one day and missed it, wouldn't it be a huge regret? Imperial Dynasty's wealth was depreciating really quickly. This was also because of the Alliance and the 4 alliances. It caused their wealth to collapse. It wasn't worth much anymore. Among the Martial Path Mountain disciples, their faith swelled due to this battle. There were already 10 who reached Purple Faith. That was a terrifying number. This meant that Martial Path Mountain would have 10 Tao Realm Stage 3 experts. But there was no rush. He had to take it slow and let more people feel the benefits of having faith in him. Zhu Xin couldn't understand young Master Lin's cultivation anymore. Even if he racked his brains, he wouldn't be able to believe what he had just seen. If Master Lin knew about it, he would be really happy. During this period of time, heaven-covering old demon went into secluded meditation after he returned. He wanted to break through to Tao Realm Stage 8. Although this realm had become a legend, the battle on Martial Path Mountain had a huge impact on him. The prideful him obviously couldn't accept such a result. Thus, He didn't want to bother about anything else. He just wanted to cultivate in secluded meditation. On the contrary, evil spirit old ancestor had a huge headache. Demon refinement old ancestor's death infuriated demon refinement old ancestor, and they found 9 evil spirit hall to demand an explanation. Evil spirit old ancestor had a huge headache too. What did this have to do with him? He wasn't the one who killed him. If he wanted to find someone, then find the person who killed demon refinement old ancestor. Unfortunately, he didn't listen at all and just treated him as the evil spirit old ancestor. He was the one who called for him, so now that something had happened, he had to take responsibility. Thus, when the 4 alliances were at war with one another, Evil Alliance had conflicts within themselves. This was why Celestial Alliance White Lotus St. Purity Mountains Guyuan and Celestial Alliance Guasian Islands Su Yuanming felt that something wasn't right. Evil Alliance had top sects fighting amongst themselves, so how could they fight against Celestial Alliance and Buddha Alliance? Chapter 499. Su Yuanming and Master Guyuan met again. Celestial Alliance Guasian Island was led astray by White Lotus St. Purity Mountain. Su Yuanming didn't want to work with the Alliance headquarters at all. He didn't want to work with them at all. The Alliance headquarters was a trustworthy existence. But there was no other way. Not only him, but even Guasian Island was dragged down and had no chance of escaping. Therefore, he could only take it one step at a time. At this moment, the 2 of them appeared on the summit of a mountain. In front of them, white clouds drifted slowly like snow. They couldn't let others know that they were meeting, otherwise there would be big trouble. Brother Su, the situation right now isn't too good. Some of the top sects in the Evil Alliance are in conflict and this is affecting our plan greatly. Guyuan paid a lot of attention to this matter. He and Su Yuanming were like the masterminds behind the scenes, watching the changes happen. But now that there was a problem with the changes, it affected everything else. Su Yuanming kept silent for a moment and then said, "Brother Guyuan, I feel like this isn't good. We are walking on the edge of danger, and the slightest mistake will cause us to fall. Why don't we stop here?" "What nonsense are you saying? We have already reached such a stage. It is too late to stop now," Guyuan denied. He knew what Su Yuanming was worried about, but there was no need to worry. Su Yuanming sighed and didn't say much. He and Guyuan were really close. People often said that at their level, there were no more true friends. But Su Yuanming treated Guyuan as a true friend. Even if he was the despicable Grandmaster of White Lotus St. Purity Mountain, he knew that Guyuan wouldn't harm him. Guyuan said, "I received some news that Evil Alliance's conflict was caused by Evil Spirit Old Ancestor bringing Demon, Refining Old Ancestor, and the others to find trouble with someone. Then, Demon Refining Old Ancestor was killed. At the same time, Heaven Covering Demon Sects Heaven Covering Old Demon joined in. But this might be a chance for us. If we can direct Evil Alliance's hatred to Celestial Alliance and Buddha Alliance, then this will be a knot that can never be undone." When Su Yuanming heard Guyuan's words, he frowned. He felt like they were causing trouble at the edge of the abyss. It was really dangerous and it was easy for things to happen. Unfortunately, there was no other way. Since the game had already begun, there was no turning back. Martial Path Mountain. Lin Fan had nothing to do every day. "Young Master Lin, what kind of people did you bring back? Especially those few kids, they are so annoying," Zhu Shen grumbled. Since Zhang Rongming knew that Zhu Shen was a border defense expert and because he died with the Alliance, he became like a pig. He worshipped him and followed behind Zhu Shen all day. He shouted Zhu Shen time and time again, making Zhu Shen feel like he really was a pig. Lin Fan looked at Zhu Shen. "Why? Don't you feel good? Having someone following is better than having no one following. Don't you see how envious others are?" Zhang Tianshan is probably really envious. As soon as he finished speaking, a figure walked over from afar. Elder Pig, so you are here. Zhang Rongming ran over excitedly. When he saw Lin Fan, he said happily, Brother Lin. Yes. Lin Fan smiled and nodded. You have been out for a period of time and haven't thought about going back to Giant Sword Sect to take a look. With your current cultivation, you should be able to go back in style. When Zhang Rongming came out from Giant Sword Sect, he was only at initial Grandmaster. Now, he was close to God Essence Realm. He improved really quickly. Normal people might need years or even decades, but in just a few months, he crossed several small realms. One had to say that training was really useful. Brother Lin, I don't want to go back. I am really happy now and have found my life goal. If I don't chase the Alliance away, I won't go back. Zhang Rongming said. He hated the Alliance. During his time in Laoshan City, he knew many people and many seniors took care of him. But they all died to the Alliance, so he swore that if he didn't take revenge for them, he wasn't a human. Lin Fan saw the determination in Zhang Rongming's eyes and didn't say anything more. Zhu Shen was helpless towards Zhang Rongming's actions and didn't say anything more. Young Master Lin, what should we do next? Zhu Shen asked. Martial Path Mountain's existence wasn't a secret anymore. Some strong sects knew about its existence. Although nothing happened during this period of time, they weren't sure whether or not there would be danger in the future. Lin Fan thought about it for a moment. What else can I do? Naturally, I will continue to expand. With my current cultivation, I don't fear those people. But before that, I have to head out. He was really annoyed with the Alliance, especially the strongest 9-star generals. They chased him when he was weak. Now that he was at Dao Realm Stage 4, he was on the same level as someone at Dao Realm Stage 7. He wanted to meet them and let them know that the person they offended in the past was back to deal with them. To where? Zhu Shen asked curiously. Lin Fan smiled, of course to the Alliance. If I don't teach them a lesson, they will think that I am easy to bully. Zhu Shen was stunned. Young Master Lin, Evil Alliance is the one who came to find trouble with us. It isn't the Alliance headquarters, so why are we going to find them? He was really impressed. Young Master Lin was just so overbearing. The moment he opened his mouth, he wanted to go to the Alliance. This was something that he wouldn't have dared to imagine in the past. Although he was worried about young Master Lin's safety, but with young Master Lin's current strength, naturally, he didn't care about them at all. If I don't find them, who else can I find? The 4 alliances are at war now. Although I was the one who started it, the Alliance headquarters will definitely attack and push the situation to an irreconcilable stage. Logically speaking, I should head to the Evil Alliance, but to continue to weaken them is just too comfortable for the Alliance headquarters. Lin Fan didn't want to see such a situation. The Alliance headquarters didn't suffer heavy losses at all, and they were even expanding their territory. Only the 4 alliances were fighting to the death. It is best if we are careful, Zhu Shen said. Don't worry. With my current strength, no one in the Alliance should be able to do anything to me. Lin Fan was really confident in his own strength. He didn't think that the strongest 9-star generals could do anything to him, and at most, they would end up on a draw. But thinking about how his father could fight 4 of them and even kill 2, he felt like his father was much stronger than him. This was why he felt like he had to work hard to raise his cultivation. Zhu Shen looked at Lin Fan and didn't say anything. Alliance headquarters. Since Zhu Daoshan acted like he wanted to hide in the forest and scared the Alliance commander so much that he didn't dare to say anything, he had nothing to do. This made Zhu Daoshan a little anxious. No matter what, he was the strongest 9-star general in the Alliance. Losing so many times in a row made him lose face. This was why he wanted to prove that he wasn't trash and that he wasn't the strongest 9-star general who couldn't do anything. But regretfully, Maybe because the people from the Alliance headquarters were afraid, they didn't dare to let Zhu Daoshan take over many things. Even if Zhu Daoshan went to ask, the people from the Alliance headquarters would say that someone had already completed the mission. They didn't lack manpower. Not only was Zhu Daoshan helpless, but even Wu Zhiga was the same. In the meeting, the Alliance commander said, "I received news that a few evil Alliance experts went to find trouble with Lin Fan and were forced back by him. This isn't a huge matter, but based on the news, one of them is the old ancestor of heaven-covering demon sect. He is at Dao Realm Stage 7. Do all of you know what this means?" Just as the commander's voice landed, the meeting room started to rumble. What? That kid actually reached such a level? The person who spoke was Wu Zhiga. His expression was one of shock, and it was obvious that he didn't believe that this was true. A while ago, he even fought them and was chased by them like a dog. He only knew how to run and didn't dare to fight them at all. Impossible, that is definitely impossible. How can he reach such a level in such a short time? It must be fake. Wu Zhiga felt that all of this was fake. How could it be true? If this was true, then how terrifying would it be? Zhu Daoshan kept silent and then said, "Commander, we are not at fault. I would like to fight and kill this kid." Since he knew that Evil Alliance had a battle with Lin Fan, then he definitely knew the location. "Right, I want to go too," Wu Zhiga said. When the two of them said this, everyone in the meeting room looked towards them with weird gazes. Their gazes annoyed Zhu Daoshan and Wu Zhiga. What kind of gaze is that? Zhu Daoshan was unhappy. Wu Zhiga frowned and felt that these people were so annoying. They were the strongest 9-star generals of the Alliance, so when were they allowed to point fingers at them? At that moment, in the meeting room, someone muttered softly, "They really aren't afraid that something will happen. They have already failed so many times. Hayes, the more they want to prove themselves, the more they will fail." Although their voices were soft, they still heard it. Wu Zhiga couldn't take it anymore. His eyes were filled with rage and he hollered, "Who said that? Step out." Zhu Daoshan's expression was really ugly. What he hated the most was people rubbing salt in their wounds. Too much, this was just too much. Right. The two of them did fail many times, but there was a reason for it. If not for some accidents, how could we have lost? Now, these 9-star generals who weren't the strongest actually doubted them. This made them furious. They felt like they were slapping their faces. "Okay, keep quiet." The commander raised his hand. "General Zhu, General Wu, the situation is unclear and the Alliance headquarters still needs the two of you. I will hand this matter to someone else." "Commander, do you think that we will keep failing?" Wu Zhiga raised his head and asked solemnly. The commander actually didn't know what to say when he heard Wu Zhiga's words. Even though his expression was calm, the glint in his eyes was telling the other party that he was spouting nonsense. But he knew that he couldn't say that. Suddenly, someone charged in. "Not good, P.S. This is the last time. From tomorrow onwards, if I don't work hard, then I am a dog." You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.